Here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Here.
Here. Here.
So all present, 100%. If you would, everyone please stand for the invocation and the pledge. The invocation will be by Shelton Anthony.
Father God, we come to you this afternoon. We thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for allowing us to be able to assemble here on these grounds. And Lord, as we embark on this wonderful, wonderful experience, we are asking a special prayer for our board of directors as we continue to make decisions for our patients and all of the residents of Donaldsonville and the surrounding communities. Lord, we're asking also a special prayer over the architectural firms that are going to be presenting this afternoon. May you continue to give them strength, wisdom, and guidance as we continue to move this project forward. And Lord, we are so thankful for just you allowing us to make this important step. Lord, we ask a special prayer over our community, over our state, this country, in these blessings and all we ask. In the precious and mighty name. Thank God.
Amen. Please place the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the meeting. These were mailed out earlier.
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion, any opposition? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Public comment, we have public comment available on any agenda item, and it will be limited to 3 minutes, and you need to sign up if you want to be a commenter. You need to sign up with Shelton Anthony. All right, and then we're going to move into new business and oral interviews. So I'd like to, maybe before we get started, Michael, is for the board to introduce themselves. I'm Bill Dawson, I'm the chairman.
Falcon Mir, Vice Chairman.
Anya Mitchell, board member.
Sheree Levy, board member.
Darby Williams, board member.
Thank you. And if you will, introduce your, looks like you brought a small squad.
Actually, I'm gonna say, here's the part we're gonna talk about our roles on the project. So, I won't bore you with the sequence right now.
All to you, Michael.
Okay, so I guess, is everybody ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, I will introduce myself. I am Mike McCurlin. I am the chairman and CEO of Domain Architecture.
Told him to do that.
So now I gotta watch what I say. No, so again, I'm the president and CEO of Domain Architecture. I have this opportunity to present our team's qualifications to you guys. We are going to keep this whole very simple, very informal. We know you guys have a time limit. You have a bunch of these to watch. So we're going to go relatively quick. We're not going to kind of repeat everything that we put into the RFQ. You guys have seen it, but what we really want to do is focus on a few pieces that are kind of critical that we think really parallel this project with you guys. Again, we'll talk briefly about who we are, and then we'll talk a little bit about applicable work and a case study parallels with what you guys are trying to do over here with Ascension, and then a little bit about how we approach this project for you guys. So again, when I found out this job was coming up in my backyard, right, this is the Donaldsonville's like a second home to me. We've done a lot of work over here. I wanted to make sure that when I put the right team together, it included experts that felt the same way that I do, the way that we do, feel strong about community the way we do, and have kind of the same core values that we do. And I've worked with Byron over at Modus for quite some time, and we partnered up on a lot of projects. And he was the one that we knew that we needed a true healthcare expert in the community hospital space And he had been working with Moody Nolan, which is why we met with them and brought them on board again, because I don't have any ego. I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And so I want to make sure that this hospital is taken care of by having the right team on board. On top of that, I expect the exact same out of my consultants. We have consultants that are small business, diverse, local, and actually give time and effort into the community. Again, you can see from all these pictures that we're not just here for a job. We've been here, we're gonna stay here, and when this job is long gone, we're still gonna be here. We can talk about where home is and where the home base is, but really to me, home is gonna be where do you spend your extracurricular time, where do you give back, where do you try to change the community that you're in? And again, that's a core value to us. Now, we're gonna go ahead and we'll go ahead and introduce everybody in bar. So again, everybody in this room is somebody that you're gonna see throughout the entire process. These are not faces that come sell you on what we're gonna do and then they disappear. You meet a bunch of other people. And you have varying levels of owners of all the different companies that we brought together because we are gonna be involved from start to finish. This is my backyard. I will be here from start to finish to make sure that it goes right. I do not want to run into y'all rouses. Y'all tell me about how bad this project's going. So it is my job to make sure that it goes good and I put my name on it. And so I will be running the job all the way through.
My name is Byron Stewart. I'm the owner and president of Otis Inc. Architects and Planners.
Sorry. My name is Tim Fishkin. I'm a partner with Moody Nolan. I'm also our national healthcare practice leader. I've been at this for 41 years.
My name is Glenn Perkins. I'm the project manager for this project and operation lead at Moody Nolan related to healthcare.
Hi, I'm Ingrid Williams. I'm a partner at Domain Architecture. I will be involved from start to finish with Mike and everybody.
And Ingrid leads all of our projects about.
Yes.
Actually, I think she had a pre-bid this morning at Lala, so.
Nick Scheck-Snyder, site civil engineer with McKinnon Creek.
Jason Crum from engineering will be doing mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, and medical gas.
Jason Dental with Fort Nevada, I will be the structural engineer.
Tom McBilly with Notice as your project architect.
I'm Brendan Burr. I'm a principal architect for the Domain Architecture. I'm involved with production through CA.
I'm Raul Valdez. I'm the electrical engineer with Electrical Design Solutions, and our office is in Ascension. My house is in Ascension. You'll run into me in Ross's as well.
Yeah, go get him. No, so with that again, we took care of picking our team. We are actually working on the project next door at RPCC. And I brought the same team to this table because they already know the area, they already know the site, right? We've had challenges on the site to speak to start with, right? So we already have an advantage of understanding exactly what it's gonna take to marry these two buildings together and what the soil conditions and everything are. We've been doing this for 23 years now. For us, the biggest referral we can get is repeat clients. We don't show up for a job and then disappear. For us, it's about creating that connection with the owner and building that long-standing relationship. And I think if you look at our references and you look at kind of the long-standing relationships we've had with so many different clients, it makes us feel good that we know that they're going to come to us and trust us with their problems or challenges, no matter how big or small. I mean, you can see some of these numbers are really small for a lot of dollar bill wise, but for a lot of projects, it's because there is no different size. Again, for us, it is really all about that relationship and getting to, get in with that client, understand their needs, and then be able to make sure that we execute every time that they call us. The next part, again, we skipped through that part, so now let's get into the stuff that matters, right? Again, I'm not going to go through a whole list of projects. We know CMAR's on the table for this, and it does make sense. We've successfully completed a lot of CMAR projects within the parish, and we have 2 going on currently in the city of Donaldsonville as well. But on top of that, we started to talk about a specialized type of construction. We're not talking about something simple, maybe a hotel or an office building. There's a complex nature to these projects. So having somebody on this project from a construction standpoint that understands the intricacies that go into planning out the different systems and the building systems to make sure not just the lowest bidder makes a whole lot of sense in this case. And so I think in that case, CMARC does seem to make sense for this particular project. I'll turn it over to Tim, start talking a little bit about healthcare.
So when we started talking with Michael and Byron, our community hospital experience, like I said, I've been doing this for 41 years. The majority of my work has been in community hospitals. And since I've joined Moody Nolan, we do some academic medical center work, but our real passion is to get embedded within the communities and have their dreams realized in the work that we do. We also have a fair amount of work in federally qualified health centers. One of us, on the left is Friends Health. About a year and a half ago, it was a beauty salon warehouse. It was right on the L. You can see the L sign. Perfectly sited.
As he definitely knows all of those documents, so just want to make sure that phone number is correct.
Part of Southside Chicago didn't really have access to healthcare. Ascension Health is an outpatient facility east side of Indianapolis, very depressed community with some FQHC folks. And we'll talk about some of our rural hospitals experience here. This is a quick sampling of the kind of work we do. I mean, it ranges from larger academic medical centers to smaller FQHCs. And the only reason we put this together, the only reason it might be important to you all, is we can bring all that experience to bear.
Okay.
It's been a little less than this probably, but as we learn more from Michael and Byron about the site, about your community project, Memorial Health is in what has historically been a rural community. Honda moved in with a manufacturing plant and an admin group probably 20 years ago. Then Scott's Turf Builder, the Miracle Grow Turf Builder Company, moved their headquarters there. So all of a sudden they had this interesting confluence of still needing to provide for the farming community, but also having more of a white collar base because of the headquarters and lots of manufacturing. So they also, you can flip, were very interested in.
Now we do this and make this easier.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Now I'm going to screw it up.
I can guess, but now it's on you.
In industrial health and occupational health. This was a 48-bed addition, replaced their cafeteria, new main entry, and it's really proved very valuable to this community. Plus, they're experiencing a little bit of encroachment from Ohio State University Medical Center and from Ohio Health. So they needed this not only to serve the community, but the better position so they're not losing a patient base to those competitors. But the one we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about is Norton West Louisville Hospital. Glenn's going to share a bit more about it, but this is a community of 9 neighborhoods that's been very depressed, very low income. They've had manufacturing move out. So they've got acres and acres of vacant manufacturing facilities that have just left to rust. The site was on one of those pieces of property, but this is the first healthcare facility within this community in 150 years.
So really want to talk with everyone about health equity and patient outcomes. So when we talk about Norton West Louisville Hospital, it's a 100,000 square foot facility. Started foundation, so I'd say November of 23 to roughly in terms of the ribbon cutting, about 2 years later, November of 25. And so what I want to be very clear about is what it meant to the community. You know, when we had sessions at the end, and when you talk with the chaplain, and the chaplain talks to you about the emotion and what it does and how it affects people, it resonates. And so one of the things they had said to us when we're talking about, you know, you can determine your healthcare outcomes in terms of your genetic code, but your zip code shouldn't be a determinant of your health outcomes and your survivability and things of that nature. So it was very important to us to make sure that was implemented. So we would have user group meetings that would talk about what they wanted. So one of the things they wanted would be like a food pantry or a community room, things like a cafeteria that could serve, the inpatients and individuals that would just come to the hospital. So the hospital is not just about a building, it's about a sense of being heard. So when, it's very clear to us that there's a parallel to West Ascension Health and what this community, what this hospital means to you all. We want to try to bring forth some of those similar ideas and some of those passions, because we know that it's not just a building. It's really very critical. So yes, can we talk about, and we will get into that, can we talk about early foundation packages? Can we talk about an ED? Yes. I mean, Norton had 20 inpatient beds, but also on the other end of it, it had a full service ED. But the real issue is, again, what it meant to the community. Without the Norton Hospital, and I would think there would be a similar situation with hospitals in this area, there's a 30-minute bus ride and walking to get to that. So what we want to do is bring forth that amount of energy, that amount of passion, that amount of love. So the folks, because I've heard that, I think James mentioned that on the way in, people feel like West Ascension is home. And we want to recreate that for you all. So, yeah. What we're showing here is a scaled model relative to the image on the screen. And so this image shows the Northwest Hospital, in addition to the Goodwill Opportunity Campus, which again talks to the fact that you're going to bring community people into the building, that work in the building, that help construct the building. It's kind of full service, but with these pieces that we're illustrating here, and we can talk about that later if we get into it, there's different modeling components that we can talk about massing. We understand critically that so one of the approaches is a single floor plan, one level, but we're interested to hear if there are other opportunities to discuss other levels of efficiency into that. So this is the floor plan. I don't want the whole thing to be about Norton, but this is the floor plan. This is the first floor. We've got MEP, outpatient services. Actually, instead of an MOB, we have facilities inside the building. We've got labs. We've got an ED, full level triage, imaging services, CT. We've got a mobile MRI, which is not shown on here. That was discussed heavily, so that could be an option for your hospital. So a lot of different options. Again, it's just amazing how there are so many parallels. The fact that Tim talked about Memorial Hospital in terms of Scott's in that relationship, and understanding that Hyundai is building another facility in your area, and it just seems like it's just very timely to what's going to happen and the amount of construction and change that's going to happen in your area. And I think the fact that your hospital is going to be a part of it just resonates. So
one of the reasons we want to spend a little bit more time on this is if you look at the program components, they're very much in parallel with what we've read in the program that you all provided and what we talked about.
Again, this is the third floor. These are the patient beds. We have everything from isolation of room to your typical patient beds. This has a more of a racetrack model, but we can reconfigure that. It could be whatever you all want to be configured. I mean, sometimes we've gone through a situation where you have the nurses, a core situation, but sometimes you just want a more diverse nursing model. So all those things can be considered. We've got 2 ORs here. We do have an understanding that there's an endoscopy portion that what you guys are considering. So this is two orthopedic ORs. These aren't, heavy operating type of situations, but I think they'd be similar in terms of the function, what you're looking for. So, and we can walk through all these things at any point, but And these are some of the images. We had green roofs. These were actually, at one point, actually really turf green roofs in terms of design, but it got VE'd out to artificial. But even with the artificial look, as you can see from these images, it really, it makes a difference.
Well, and part of the response in the design was community wanted more connection to nature. And there really is a lot of green space in the neighborhoods around there. And we provided that not only with some of the landscaping around the sites and roof gardens, but also just in the interior space. But getting them a little bit more connected to nature gives them a little bit of an opportunity to decompress.
All right, let's go into the project approach, right? Again, you've seen some of the other projects. 5 more minutes, okay, perfect. Bring it all the way over to you guys. So, again, we talked about the fact that we're familiar with the site as it is because we are working next door. We understand it. And we were able to come up with some key measures on where we placed the building, so we didn't have to surcharge the building. We were also able to not do a deep foundation to the tune of saving about $1.5 million across the board on that, just by the placement of this, right? So you can start to see that when we look at your site, you've got kind of 3 access points, and we had to chop it off for scale, but you potentially have 3 access points to this. There's also some ability to start to tie these two things together, right? There's a master plan that actually can happen here where the 2 buildings feed off of each other. We know that there's potential for an outreach pharmacy, obviously the cafeteria. And I mean, Quentin Taylor is talking all about that cafeteria, like we got to get over there. So, just our ability, our engineers understanding that site, we're going to bring that to the table and kind of start to master plan this thing through. We know Donaldsonville, and that's here. A lot of these people have been born, raised. There's a sense of pride here. So for us, making sure that we were able to engage the community. This is a community project. In the past, we've done these fancy little renderings and wowed our presentation, say, here's what it could be. We didn't want to do that disservice, right? Right now, what's really missing is the community input, is the hospital's input to really understand what it is that you guys are trying to do and walk you through that process. So one of the things that, again, stands out in my opinion from Mood Nolan is their ability to engage the community through this entire process.
Yeah, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I've been with Moody Nolan for 8 years now. And what I didn't realize those prior 30-some years is I was missing something. And what I was missing is connecting to the folks that are using the facilities. We spent a lot of time with administrators and user groups in those prior 30-some years. But now I feel more grounded. I'm going to click the one thing that I do. Norton is a good example. We were folded into 2 years of community work that they had already started. And by doing that, we've heard comments from the community, and I'll go back to this slide here as well, where they see their fingerprints. They see that we listened, and then we were able to transition that into design solutions. Project of the Ascension Parish, it's got Women's Children's Facility in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, and the chief administrator said to me a couple of times that the facility needs to be recognized. That's, I think, what we as designers want to do. So really quickly, Lynn mentioned this. You guys have been there since 1966, I think. And what we want to do with you is design a building and bring that sustainability. This is the next 50, 60, 70 years old. Also heard that there may be a desire to put all of this on one floor plan. That could be the right solution, but we also owe it to you to quickly explore what are the other options. And this is the exercise we went through in now. I know, based on experience, that a 32 by 32 planning model is the most adaptable for admin space and ED space and intervention space and imaging space and exam rooms without having columns fall in the middle of your rooms awkwardly. So we went through this exercise with them, and the other thing we were able to do is fold in the community input that they have. And we said we want to be able to see outside. We elevated views. We want this to be an icon. Those decisions were part of the pro-con matrix that we went through with Norton Health. And we have Amelia, who was on the earlier slide, who is, has a certification in 6 Sigma. She will help us collectively put together workshops and processes by which we can help you make a sustainable set of your decisions. And this did not take months. This took a couple of weeks to really get them in a position where they felt confident in moving forward. Because again, for them as well, this is a 50-year decision.
All right, I know we're right at the edge, so again, we brought this just to give you guys a little sample of what it takes to start stacking blocks. If I could have brought Legos, I know I would have. But, you know, again, it gives you a quick chance to see how this can fit on the site. You know, it's, again, we're visual, we're tactile, we want to see, and we want you guys to kind of feel, you know, the passion that we're excited about how this can assemble, what makes the most sense. So I'll just close with this. I know there's going to be a lot of other architects that come in here after us, and every one of them's probably a great firm, and they probably can do this. Without even knowing who that list is, I can say with the utmost certainty that I don't believe you're going to meet a team that is more familiar with the city, more ingrained in the community, understands the site, and has specific experience directed towards community healthcare and the design of community hospitals and the teams down the road. So with that, we'd like to open it up and hear what questions you have for us.
So I did introduce Gaspar Ciuffici.
Yeah.
And so he's going to really run the questions for us.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the questions on behalf of the board. Keep your responses as brief as possible. But you've covered some of the answers to these questions. I'm going to ask them anyway, because I'm asking everybody the same questions. Just try to, you know, reiterate, see how good your memory is. And if you need me to repeat the question, please do. Some of them are kind of complex, some are very simple. Focusing on one of your critical axes are our hospitals, our rural healthcare facility designs. Explain how the design helped operational efficiency. Part of it is the environment from which they're working, from which they're moving. And that's one of the transitions that may be a little bit challenging if you've been working in the same place for 30 years. But we will work through and do flow analysis, circulation analysis, for materials, staff, patients, family members, to make sure that we've got good clarity between front of the house circulation and back of the house circulation. And, you know, when I mentioned that 32 by 32 planning grid, that's a step, but it's also designing spaces that are easily adaptable to other uses. So what about, you mentioned long-term sustainability. What do you do to help guarantee that? It really starts with the infrastructure and providing a manifold within which things can change and evolve easily. Floor-to-floor heights that are efficient, or sufficient for future modalities. And making sure that keeping that front of house, back of house circulation segregated will facilitate the opportunity to grow within the clinical spaces wedged between the front house. There are lots of stakeholders connected to this project, to any hospital service district project, including the public that's served. How do you manage stakeholder expectations and garner stakeholder support during design and construction? You did cover some.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is to, you know, first thing we do is we sit down with the board and find out exactly who the key stakeholders are from the hospital side. And then again, you start to reach out and figure out, a lot of times we talk about getting a task force together of community members that have been, you know, in the area for a long time. And then to that point, you can even go into the open meetings to where you have it open to the public and start to get that feedback. And then it's our job to go back together and kind of call that out and then present what we've heard and then how we think that is able to meet the board and the hospital's needs, as well as listen to what the community is asking for.
But do you have an idea of how many public meetings you would propose for a project like this?
Public meetings versus small community focus groups.
Well, public meeting could be a focus group.
Kick off the project, progress of design, and later on, once that design is evolved, and then maybe, obviously during construction, everybody's gonna wanna know what's going on the site. But the community engagement, we'd like to have maybe a couple each phase, so a couple of those during schematic design, so we get good feedback to help us with our planning. A couple during design development, because that's when we're dialing in finishes, materiality, and we want to make sure that people feel warm and welcomed with the environment that we'd be creating. And again, we want them to feel like they own it.
Some of these questions are going to be related. How do you balance stakeholder expectations, clinical needs, and financial constraints to design the right size hospital?
Financial always wins, right? I mean, I would start with that. You know, once our job is to serve you guys. I mean, I'll go down the path. First Peter 4:10 says that we're supposed to use our gifts to serve one another as a sign of God-bearing grace, right? That is what we were put here to do, is to serve each other. So it's not my building. It's not their building. To some degree, it's not even y'all's building. But what it is, it's everybody's building. So what we have to do is figure out what are the parameters, and then we design to those parameters. It's not that we come up with a design, which is the reason we didn't bring one today. It was, we need to know what your parameters are. We need to talk about the specific budgets, what those needs are, and then design specifically to that.
I think one of the biggest impacts to that is to get the right CM on board and get them on board early. That it's a critical junction because they're going to listen, they're going to understand, they're going to bring their expertise. And if that narrative isn't correct, then it's going to be an initial problem. We don't anticipate that, but we want to make sure we're talking in the same room and we're on the same page.
Kind of related to that, something of a trick question here. Suppose this board insists they need more than the budget can support. What do you tell them? How do you handle that?
During the design process, we would want to make sure that we're identifying priorities, focusing on the higher priorities, and putting some of those on the parking lot list. Hopefully, as we continue through the design process, we'll be able to pull some of those parking lot list items and build them into the design process. But it's also a little bit of what Michael was saying. If we're estimating parallel to design and not, we're at SD, oh my gosh, we're over budget. We're at DD, oh my gosh, we're over budget. We're working alongside your construction team and using good precedent projects of ours, we should be able to map out a path where we're making design decisions that are all within budget. Because it's not fair for us to present something that we really want to you if it isn't affordable, because then we have to walk it back. Sorry.
Thank you. If possible, unless you've been perfect your whole life, tell us about a hospital project where things didn't go exactly as planned and how you adjusted the design or adjusted your approach to save the project.
I'm trying to think of a good example. This is back, maybe somewhat relevant, around Hurricane Katrina time. It was, interesting enough, Ascension Health, largest not-for-profit health system in the United States, doing a project in Novi, Michigan. The Beijing Olympics caused steel prices to spike. Katrina caused an incredible labor shortage. We were in DD, and the client pulled $35 billion away from us. So we paused long enough to reassess. We did decide what components, like I said before about prioritization, could be shelled out and built out later. And that's not so much, and I'm kind of cheating here because I wasn't going to say any of us could control. But those are the kind of things that you can anticipate 80% of what you're going to go through on a project. And we owe it to you to map out what we know with you. That way you have more time to deal with the surprises that we can't predict. That's what the surprises that we can.
And guys, we had a similar situation. Well, it's not a hospital, it's on Prairieville High School, where we hit COVID. But at the same time, Amazon decided they were going to build as many distribution centers as they could. And they bought up all the bar joists in the United States. And so what we ended up doing is we had to work with the contractor, and that was a design bid build. So it wasn't even a CMAR process, but they had already been awarded the project. We had to work with them about shifting some of the structural systems and sequencing of events till those bar joists became available to the general public again. So
it might be a situation where it's a different construction type. Is it right for replace concrete as steel, or it could be something that's not as insignificant. It could be long lead items, air handling units, switchgear, things of that sort.
Like you meant, it sounded like you were recommending CMAR for this project. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but if you do recommend that, why do you recommend CMAR?
So I think there's two things. And look, I'm mixed on the CMAR on some smaller projects, right? But when you start to get to these larger projects with the complexity that goes into it, I don't want the race to the bottom, so to speak, right? I want someone who understands what it's going to take to put something this complex together. So there is a benefit to that. Also, when we talk about budget, right, most owners, they have a long list and they want to try to get as much as they can. We just crossed the final bid at Dutchtown High recently, and it was a CMAR process. And we had a few items from the owner on the parking lot list, if we call it. And as we worked through the process, they ended up getting the base and all of their parking lot items, and they had some money left over. So if you have the right partnership, CMAR can be very, very powerful, especially if you start looking at, I need to do an early release package, or we have site conditions here that might require that we go to a surcharge. Well, we can get that surcharge started now, so we're not doing everything and sitting and waiting. So there are some things like that that the CMAR does make sense.
Are you going to use that on River Parish?
The surcharge?
Oh, the CMAR.
We are in the CMAR right now. Arkel Construction is, and we are, and to their point, they brought in slightly late, so they're playing catch up. But again, we're having great feedback going back and forth, looking at systems. And as things change, which that job is now all of a sudden FP&C has jumped in, which we're having to shift again for some energy modeling late in the game. Again, having that contractor on board has been very beneficial to say, what kind of impact is that really going to make? And what other options do we have? And we are going to an early release package because we know Hyundai is not, they're a little demanding, and I'm just leaving it. No, Hyundai's great.
Here, cooling tower, boilers, elevators, you're gonna need some early buyout packages, or it's gonna totally.
What can you do during design to make certain the project remains within the established construction budget? If you're, let's say you're doing CMAR.
I mean, I think, again, we've kind of hit on it from every direction, right? It's first thing is open communication. Second thing is find the laundry list of items that the owner wants and wish list. And then if you have that contractor on board, you're working with them to start to understand what the cost of each of these items are. Start to stack them up, you work back and forth, you get flexible. Again, maybe you go with steel frame and sheetrock, but oh, you know what, right now, CMU is going to be better in some areas because it allows us to get, more bang for our buck in the back of house. There are just things like that that you have to work back and forth with each other and that contractor to make sure that the budget doesn't go over early on. The other thing is without design, bid, build, there's no surprise on bid day. We know going all the way through where we stand, and at a point that we think we have an issue, we stop and we talk about it and we work through the issue right then and there, not 5 months down the road come bid day. So
Typically, how often do you meet with the owner or the owner's rep during the project?
It really varies per stage. Most of the jobs that we do in the prelim, the early stuff, we're meeting every other week to really get an idea. Once we get into the design, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 weeks to really spit out what we've discussed in the meetings. During construction, it's a weekly meeting. We want to make sure that the owner is kept abreast of what's going on. Obviously, we're out to site even more than that. So it really does vary depending on what part of the project we're at. But at the beginning, we're communicating all the time.
So what's your estimated timeline for the design phase and for the construction phase, given your preferred delivery method, let's say CMAR?
Construction-wise, I would say, 18 months to 24 in that range, depending on if you have to do surcharge and some of those preliminary stuff. And again, early release packages let you start to overlap the design phase potentially with the construction phase. From a design standpoint, I mean,
we could be happy to map out a schedule, but we have a couple of weeks just doing program verification, make sure the program you have is what you want to deliver. 3 months in SD, 4 months in DD. We'll kick out some early packages, probably foundation package at the end of SD. If it's steel package early so we can early buy out of steel. And then cumulative 4 or 5 months for CDs. But we'll have those early bid packages out. So you're buying material and getting yourself something. And you're digging a hole before we're done with the whole seeding package.
I say, like, on RPCC, we're working backwards, right? They have a drop dead deadline that we have to be in because they have to, teach for a certain number of years before the Hyundai plan opens. So we're working on, we had like 5 months to do the whole thing. So there are ways to, like they said, let's do early release packages to be able to really digest some of the technical component of this, but keep the schedule on.
It might be also worth thinking about different mechanical packages. We're talking about air handling units, or we're talking about essential plant, so that's the other thing.
But from that standpoint, from a mechanical standpoint, what we'd be looking at is what is the best bang for your buck? A, energy efficiencies. B, and C, delivery of equipment time. Air-cooled chillers are running probably about 20 weeks. If you do water-cooled and cooling towers, that type of a system, you're talking about a year. So that's going to guide you into what type of a system you want. We're going to do energy line base anyway, and we're going to exceed whatever the recommended energy codes and all that are by a margin. It's just standard design for us. But we'll look at that and be able to tell you the duration of that, because that's going to fall into the construction schedule, whether it's an 18-month or a 24-month.
Already really answered how you manage changes and unexpected conditions during construction. Well, I think that's covered. Obviously, you're partnering with firms, other firms. So have you worked with these? Explain again how you work with these firms in the past.
So Byron, yeah. So Byron with Modus, and my former partner Sid have been longtime acquaintances. Sid was a mentor to me, and Byron became a mentor to me as well. And we've worked on several projects together. When we came together and said, okay, this is a certain community that we need to make sure that it's designed for everyone, and the only way to do it is to have everyone at the table. We also knew that it was a community hospital, so we went out, and Byron had a relationship already with Moody Nolan, which is the largest African-American owned healthcare architect in the nation that specializes in this. So between our relationship and having worked together on several projects in their relationship, the marriage made sense.
This is my question you certainly answered. Did you intend to have services of any local firms? And you got several local firms sitting here besides for yourselves. I guess that answers yes.
From a local standpoint, I mean, again, it's not only where they're located, but it's where they give back, right? I think most of the people and the logos that you've probably seen around the community giving back in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the schools or whether it's at career days or it's just, the Elks Ball, right? I mean, I had to stand up there with Bridget. She had her big feathers on behind her. Like, it is just something that we're vested in the community, and we expect the exact same out of everyone that's on it.
If you go to Seymour, for instance, what do you do if the guaranteed maximum price comes in over budget? What happens?
So, one, you hope you never get there, right? You hope that you're chasing this thing down and you're stopping it at points before it gets to that final hill. That's the best part about CMAR is you're checkpointing the whole way. Technically and legally in the state of Louisiana, if it gets to the end point and they say we cannot meet yours, then your contract for CMAR is technically only for the pre-construction portion, and therefore you're allowed to now take that package and go out to public bid. If you believe that their number is for whatever reason inflated, and you think you could get a better number on the bid market.
Do you typically use AIA documents for owner architect contracts?
That's obviously our standard, is the most used, but we also know that there are some clients that have their own documents that we'll work with as well. But yeah, AIA is the easiest and most.
What about the owner contract or not contract?
Same thing. Again, I will say that AIA does a really strong job of protecting the owner in the construction contract, and then the A201 general conditions as well really spells out kind of the expectations of both the owner and the contractor, and has come in very valuable.
How are your fees typically structured?
Usually it's a percentage of construction costs, especially on a job this size, and we typically use the state fee formula from a standpoint of as the project goes up, the percentage goes down. It's a logarithmic formula, right? So, if you were doing a $100,000 job, it may be at 12%. On a $50 million job, it might be 5 or 6%, whatever that calculation comes out to be. That's typically where we land. And again, we always sit and negotiate with public agencies.
Is that something that's shown in the AIA?
No, the AIA, well, I mean, the AIA has different methods, right? They have the percentage of construction cost, they have a stipulated sum, and then they have a time and material. And on a job like this, no one wants time and material. It would be a nightmare for tracking. But the state of Louisiana actually has a formula for when they do public entity projects. But when we do work for the school board, they have their own set of percentage of construction costs for different range jobs. Most public entities have that, and so we'll sit down with you guys and show
That
you.
we'll have that before the contract is.
Oh, yeah, we would sit down and walk through and kind of explain it. And again, our job is to make sure you guys are comfortable with what y'all are getting, with us as a team.
So your fee might be a percent of construction. Does that change if the construction cost changes? Or is it based upon some initial cost estimate or what?
So the technical answer is either, depending on how the contract's written, right? But we have written some where as the scope, I'll call it a scope change, right? It's one thing to say we're designing for 10 million and the project comes in at 20 million because we over designed. We don't get a bonus for that. We're over budget. We're in trouble. But if it's a $10 million project, you say, hey, I want to double the size of it. Well, then of course the fee goes up because of the work that goes up in the liability. But typically what we like to do is we try to come up with the estimated fee and then lock it in early on in the process.
The last question from me, then the board may have some other questions. How do you handle architect-contractor disagreements during construction?
Hopefully you don't get there, but honestly, most of it happens because of lack of communication. We've gotten a reputation that we're firm but fair. We know what's in the documents. I'm not going to say there's ever such thing as a perfect set of documents. We're all human. But if you have, and again, the CMAR's an even better example where you're working alongside the whole way. So it typically eliminates the standard design bid build conflicts that you typically see where everyone's racing to the bottom number and trying to cut their number to get the job and then trying to figure out how to raise their number back on the backside with change orders. The CMAR process does eliminate that. But we have a good reputation with a lot of contractors in town. I mean, we work with them. We're human, they're human. Communication goes a real long way.
Bill or any of the board members?
So I had one. Really, we're a little bit unique in that a lot of our income and a lot of the money that we hope to use to build a hospital is yet to come. So, we have, pick a number, somewhere between $5 and $10 billion in projects that are coming to the west side of Ascension. And we have a 0.5-cent sales tax, and that will generate a pretty good sum of money. But that won't be available, at this point in time. Now, we do have, one of the good things about us taking over the board was that the other board was very conservative. So we took over a $25 million account. But, what I'm particularly worried about is that we'll build the hospital and then a year after we build it, we find out we don't have enough rooms or we don't have enough space. So I want to know what your experience there is and what might be a recommendation.
As far as being set up for future growth,
yeah.
I think that's exactly that. We talked about the property, right? You have a large piece of property. I know we've talked about, is there a one-story model and are there benefits for stacking? The key is to build in the flexibility and to start thinking about long-term, what's the long-term plan, even though you may not pay for it today, you may not build it in today. But we do it on all of our projects, schools, you put a new school up, guess what? You get a T building right after that, right? It's the same concept, whereas, okay, if we look at this and how we utilize the site, we will already have designated areas that we say, okay, this is how we would expand bays, or this is how we would expand additional services that maybe we weren't able to get in the first phase. There's additional phases. As long as we're working towards that, with that in mind, you can kind of build in from there.
I mean, as we go through the planning, that's one of the criteria we'll also assess what makes the most sense, a one-story building or two-story. So I look at it this way. There are three means of growing. One is internal. So you have some shelf space, or you renovate a space and convert it to something else. Incremental, which is relying on additions. And there's money. You want to be able to have an empty chair on the site. So the incremental and the monumental could be in your future. You don't want to paint yourself into a corner. So early planning work, call it master planning, whatever term makes sense. We'll look at those growth vectors with you and decide what makes most sense day one, and where are your soft edges to.
But right on time.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I didn't have anything.
So, we want to thank you all, Mike, for being here, the rest of you all. Quite a show.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Quite a show of bodies.
Good.
And just in case,
Oh, that's the,
this is Norton right now, so that
is
is
that
how
the-
much space.
That's the Norton one they were talking about.
Story.
Yeah.
And then if you spread all these out, I'm not sure exactly.
That's the one, just the.
Yeah, that's roughly. But
Yeah.
the master plan will help you decide what the best decision is. You've got a lot of different types of circulation. You want to keep your back of the house circulation, your ED circulation, your circulation wall. Seating sometimes.
One other thing is if there is a QR code, if you want to scan it and hear more about the health and the community impact, it links to a story from CBS as well. So.
And the building that's in the front, that was the community college?
This one is community college.
Yeah, okay.
So you got to try and tie these two together.
The yellow is us.
The yellow is what?
The yellow is our track.
I live.
That's gonna be the community college, and this is what exists on.
Hello. Next Friday.
okay, so, I'll take about 5 minutes. Right now.
I mean, because he gets shot. So I can see. That's right.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, it's cool.
We drew it based on the Earth and then 3D printed it out.
You ain't lying, huh?
That's all me.
back up.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay.
It's not the,
Are we ready on the?
We'll just nod to them.
yeah, okay, that's.
That's fine.
All right.
Okay, so we took a few minute break, but I'd like for you guys to come and introduce yourselves, and you've got Gasper Chapichi is I'm sure he's outlined to you how many minutes and seconds that you have.
I'll try to give you like
So we
5 minutes.
timed it and we were on your every time.
Well, we'll see.
I'll give you like 5 minutes.
Well,
Right?
maybe, okay, so, first, I'm Alan Olmeyer. I'm the president of Seisler Thompson Brown Architects. And I just want to extend a thanks to everyone for having us here, allowing us to present our team and our qualifications and answer any questions you might have. As you mentioned, we have 20 minutes, so we feel like we're going to get it in there. But certainly feel free to ask questions at any point. We're happy to answer those. I know there's a question and answer period following. So first, we want to introduce all of the team members. These are the folks that will actually work on this project. So every one of these folks has been assigned to this project. Starting with me, aside from president, I am a board certified healthcare architect with Seisler Thompson Brown. Steve Tonplay sends his apologies. He was not able to be here today. He's out of the country, so we'll excuse him. But Steve will be the project lead, so he's going to be your point person. He will be involved in the project start to finish. I know he's a little bit excited about working on this project because he actually has family from the parish. So also board certified healthcare architect. I apologize.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Galase. I am also a partner at Seisler Thompson Brown Architects, and I'm going to serve as the project manager for the project. I'm a certified healthcare architect. I'm a certified healthcare interior designer, and I hold accreditation in evidence-based design. I have been specializing in healthcare design for over 20 years. And I also have roots in Ascension Parish. My great-grandmother was actually born here in Donaldsonville and did not leave until she left as an adult to go to nursing school. So.
Now, what was her name, last name?
Her last name was Donaldson.
So they named the whole town after her.
Fairly modest.
Right, I'm Marissa Costa-Lima. I'm an associate with Seisler Thompson Brown Architects. I will serve as the project architect. I am a board certified healthcare architect as well as a certified evidence-based designer.
I'm Brent Hughes. I'm a healthcare architect and medical planner with Ascension Smith out of Nashville, Tennessee. So I've been a healthcare architect for 25 years now. Not with me today will be my partner in crime, Rob Hamby. Both of us have both certificates in lean design, and we're both EDAC certified.
So I didn't get to introduce our board, but it would take just a minute. I'm Bill Dawson, and I'm the chairman, and we'll go.
Darby Williams, board member.
Cherie Levy, board member.
I'm Falcon Mir, I'm the vice chair.
Tanya Mitchell, board member.
Thank you.
So a little overview of the two firms involved. Our team is made up of Seisler Thompson Brown, which is a local New Orleans firm with an extensive portfolio in healthcare, and Gresham Smith, who is a national firm and really known for their expertise in healthcare design. A little about Seisler.
New Orleans too, for you from New Orleans. Is it New Orleans, your firm too? The Gresham Smith is
Gresham Smith, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, but we have offices all over the country.
Your main office is in Nashville.
Yes, that's correct, headquarters.
So Seisler, we've been in business for 47 years. We've operated a healthcare specialty for over 25 of those years. We have 4 board certified healthcare architects on staff, or actually our whole leadership is board certified. So those 4 are more than any firm in the state. And all 4 of those folks are assigned to this
Well,
project.
I'm not familiar with that. Tell me just a minute of how does somebody become a healthcare architect?
It's, yeah, you would, it is an arduous process, but it requires you to fulfill some minimum requirements initially. So years worked.
You have to
10
submit,
years.
I think it's 5 years, specialized in healthcare, exclusive healthcare experience with 10 years of total architecture licensed experience. You need to submit a portfolio to a selection board, documenting all of your experience, and they really want to see a variety of inpatient, outpatient, specialized experience, along with client recommendation letters, architect recommendation letters, and
then a difficult.
And then a test.
and then test, yes.
Topped it all
You're
off.
tested on the healthcare code.
And you're tested not only on the code, but also on things like best practices, things that you would do, that you would know, like what needs to be adjacent to what. Like, and those aren't things that are dictated by code, but it's, you know, logical if you've done work in healthcare.
So it sounds like it takes about 15 or 20 years after you're.
It takes a little while.
Maybe in Marissa's case, it would go.
What I was going to say.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sorry.
So in addition to that, we also have 3 certified healthcare interior designers, and I'm being one of those, a couple of them here, and 3 certified evidence-based designers.
So Gresham, a little bit about Gresham Smith. We're over 1,200 employees at this point. We got our start in healthcare back in 1967. Really grew up in Nashville, as we previously mentioned, with HCA as our primary client, so working all over the country. But I've been with the company for 25 years now, ever since I graduated. We are consistently ranked in Modern Healthcare Magazine's top 10 in the largest design firms, and that's ranked by volume. We're doing that much work. And healthcare is where we got our start and where our heart still remains. So a little bit about Gresham Smith, all those years of experience, but the over 60 system clients that we work with, like the HCAs, the Kaiser Permanentes, the Mayo Clinics, we're ready to bring all that knowledge, experience, expertise to bear on your project here in Ascension Parish.
So have you done anything in Louisiana? What have you done in Louisiana?
We're going to show you.
Yeah, well, so also let me add that, so the reason why Gresham Smith is here is because we've worked together in the past on a number of projects here in Louisiana. And fun fact, one of his colleagues was born in this hospital.
That's great.
In this hospital right here?
I saw the room he was born in, and a picture. Very shortly after this conversation, said, "Hey, buddy, here's where it all started."
Look, the other thing, we only have 1 or 2 births a year.
This is a long time ago. This is a old guy. So yeah.
But yes.
So that's a little bit about us. Oh, I will say one other thing. Center for Health Design. That's who accredits us as professionals in terms of evidence-based design. We were the very first advocate firm for EDAC, and still remain an advocate firm today. And that just simply means that over 25% of our staff are accredited when it comes to evidence-based design research, and actually that number is closer to 40% for us.
And I will add one other item to ACHA, or our board certified healthcare certification. There's a continuing education requirement every year. So for an architect, you need 12 or 15 credits. For us, all of those have to be in healthcare. So they're like, we have doubled the number of hours required for a continuing education. So
it means that we know what all the current trends are, the things that are going on, what's going to change, and that's required from us. So that we're up to speed.
So we were on the Louisiana. I understand that you had one was born, but what kind of work did you do in Louisiana?
She better show.
Okay.
You guys are welcome next.
Absolutely. I'm not dismissing. So in an effort to get to that as quickly as we can, we got through our introductions and a little bit about our firms. This is how we're going to work off for the rest of our time. So take this as a couple of different things. One, the things that make this team special, and then also kind of our de facto agenda. So what we're going to talk about. So we're going to tell you about a little bit more about our team. We've already told you a little bit about our availability, our capabilities, our experience and expertise. We're going to talk about our flexible delivery expertise, some of our work with rural healthcare facilities, well, and then we'll talk about funding because that becomes important with these rural facilities when we design them, and we'll wrap it up with even more examples. Hey, everybody ready?
Another birth, I'm ready.
Here we go. Secret.
So our workload capacity, we are ready. We are ready to begin immediately from day one, and we're staffed to fully support this project. We intentionally structure our teams to allow us to remain responsive, maintain momentum, and meet your schedule expectations. We are prepared and available and ready to get started with you. Next. Louisiana.
Big bullseye.
And we know South Louisiana because we've been here building trusted healthcare partnerships for over 40 years, and most of them are repeat clients. Our team's partnership brings both local insight and proven results, and we're committed to the growth of the state. We also understand from all of this experience that rural healthcare is unique. And at the end of the day, it's all about thoughtful planning that sets a strong foundation so you can continue delivering high quality care to your community, both now and into the future.
Which ones are going on right now?
Sorry?
Which projects are going on?
Which ones are going on right now?
Let's
In
see.
Louisiana.
For us, I mean, we're doing a lot of work at Slidell Memorial, we do a lot of work at East Jefferson General Hospital. We've on and off done a lot of things for St. Charles Parish Hospital. We're doing West Jefferson Medical Center, some work for Avala on the North Shore, Pinnacle Medical Center.
Are you building a hospital here?
We are not
Okay.
currently building a hospital.
Okay.
But we would love to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got the birthright there.
We have availability to do that. Didn't we say we were?
A little bit about our approach, how we'll kind of walk through the project with you step by step. So I'm actually going to read this one because I think it's well written and it's nice and succinct, so we can get on to more examples. Our approach ensures a facility that supports clinical excellence, operational efficiency, and community connection, all within a realistic financial framework. So walk you through each step. The first one is project initiation. So we're going to spend a lot of time at the beginning getting to know you, listening, helping you, if you haven't already, define vision and goals for the project. It sounds kind of cliche, but it's a very important step in the process. We want to make sure we get it right. So that can start with, we can start with a blank sheet of paper on that. If you've already got some things in mind, we can help you define. So one of the very next things we'll do after defining those, that vision and those goals is put together kind of a skeleton, what we call a program or a space summary. And that'll be, eventually we get to a room by room spreadsheet, how many of those rooms there'll be, what square footage they'll be at. And that's important because it'll help us when we actually start drawing.
So when do you do a needs assessment? Do you do a needs assessment?
We can do a needs assessment if that's something that needs to be done. We've got a whole team of researchers behind us at Gresham Smith that can help put that together. And then something else I can also offer is a pretty large database. I think it's up to over 65 hospitals at this point, rural and critical access hospitals, not just any hospital, but hospitals like yours, where we benchmark things through needs assessments. We benchmark square footage, whether that's by department or by individual space or by total facility. We can bring that information to you and work with you to complete that needs assessment, put together that space program, do the research with an in-house research team to help find precedents that might be useful or helpful that maybe we go visit or maybe we don't, maybe we just learn about. And then at the end of all that, we'll have, again, that skeleton of a space program that'll help us define a budget, a lot how this is gonna come down the budget, right? So we wanna make sure that every step of the process, we're on the right track and we're headed in the right direction. So we'll do we call it a ROM, or a rough order of magnitude budget at that stage. It's just kind of a confirmation of where things stand, and we're ready to go to the next step. Next phase is programming, so we'll beef up that space program I talked about. We'll get it finalized, the meetings with users, all of your department heads, to make sure we're getting good input and good feedback, and there's no surprises when we finally do move into drawing. We'll move into drawing at this stage. We'll start to develop adjacency diagrams. Adjacency diagrams in terms of which department is next to each other. The emergency department is probably going to go next to imaging, but we don't want to make any assumptions. We want to make sure we're helping you create a system that'll work for you as we move into the future. We're also going to have a little bit of a challenge probably. We're going to have to work with your staff to work towards best practices. This is sometimes this is hard when you've got a blue sky in front of you and you've been working your workarounds in old environments. You've been doing things the way you've had to do them. You've accommodated what should be an ideal process to do what you're doing. So to get to that ideal state can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge for a facility like this who's thinking about major addition, replacement, whatever. So we'll do that. We'll put together the adjacent diagrams, massing studies, all those things to help us start to visualize the project.
Okay, in this next phase, we'll work closely with you to refine that overall scope and the clinical program, making sure that we're aligned with your goals and priorities and your operational needs. We'll convert those adjacency diagrams to actual preliminary space plans like you see here. And we'll do some test layouts to ensure that the flow and the functionality of the spaces supports what you guys need. At the same time, we're going to move into visioning, and we're going to use some inspirational imaging to better understand what your aesthetic is or what you're looking to provide. We're not building our hospital, we're building your hospital, so what is it that you would like this to look like? And we'll guide that process. And once the direction's pretty clear, we'll start bringing that to life through some fairly realistic renderings, maybe some fly-throughs, and some finished presentations, so you can actually see what the finishes are going to be.
Now, so where's the budget in this process?
Oh, we get there. We do need the budgeting at every single step of the way.
It's hard to get there.
Our clients get tired of seeing our budgets.
I have a question. So, community college is going to be directly next to us.
Yes.
How would you guys work with that design to make sure that everything kind of fits together, being that we'll be so close to the community college?
You mean as far as like taking some cues from maybe
to make sure that it's cohesive.
We're always going to do that. I mean, that is always, we are always looking at the context. We would build the same building here on your site as we would build on some other site. Your site is unique to you, it's unique to your needs, and it's unique to the neighborhood that you're in. So that's what we think about it. So
you would contact the company that's designing it? Okay, that's all. I just want to know.
We would probably want to know what that's going to look like. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I don't know what the timing is on that. Like, when will they be finished? When would this come on board? But yeah, we could probably know.
Okay. Are y'all thinking about sharing space? Sorry.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about sharing space between?
Okay. Yeah. And we've done a lot of that. We just finished East Jefferson Hospital's conversion because they took in, they began a collaboration with Tulane Medical School. And so we had to outfit all of those spaces with the understanding that they were going to be used as teaching. So we definitely are aware of that. We've done that. And we also did a lot of work with Delgado School of Nursing. Anyway, throughout this process, we're going to stay really hands-on and collaborative, and we're going to continuously check in with you guys and make sure that we're meeting the expectations that you want, and we're going to check the budget. Next slide. Sorry. All right, so building on that visioning process that we just finished, we're going to really start to do these preliminary space plans. We're going to get much more detailed and make sure that there's a lot more cohesion and that you understand the overall of the hospital. We're going to do more 3D renderings so that not only can you visualize the design, but it also is a valuable tool for your community outreach to let them see what's coming. And if you decide to do any bond funding, you know, a lot of our clients have used that to raise bond funds. So I know that's in your ideas. Also during this phase, we're going to start talking to you about whether or not this is going to go CMAR, it's going to go design, bid, build, and we're going to talk through that, and then we're going to figure out what is the best approach for this project to meet the right schedule, budget, and the project needs. A key part of our process are these full-size mock-ups. We like to build these. This allows your staff to come in and touch the pieces, understand how high they are, understand where they're located, walk through the space, make sure the flow is right, make comments, so that when this space is built, you're not surprised that where all the things are and that they don't work, that this outlet isn't where I really wanted it. So that's a big part of what we do, and we have found this to be very successful and work well in a lot of our jobs. Okay, as we move into construction administration, our focus is on maintaining the original design intent. And I don't know if I've said this enough, if we said this enough before, but this team that you see here, this is the team. We are not switching out with another person. A lot of other teams would bring in someone new to do the construction administration. That's not what we do. We are the people on the site at all times, making sure that what you guys talked to us about and said you wanted in the design is in that design. Some new person, he's not going to know what you wanted. He's just going to be looking at the paper. So that is something that is very important to us, and we do that for all of our projects. Another big thing that we feel strongly about is only seeking out projects that are in a place where we can get to them fairly quickly. And our feeling is that at a moment's notice, if you want us here, we're here. You call us, we'll be on. We'll also closely monitor the budget with the CMAR or contractor, whichever ends up happening on this project, to make sure everything's staying aligned throughout construction. And then as construction's getting close to the end, we're going to work with you through the licensing. We work through licensing with all of our clients. We understand the licensing process in Louisiana. We know the timing. We know what you need to do. We know the papers you need to fill out. And we're going to help walk you through that. If you need it, if you don't need it, we'll just be support there for you. But we want to make sure that it's all in place for when your new hospital is ready, you can move in. We'll help you with that transition. We'll make sure that you understand when your equipment will need to be in and when all of the FF&E will need to be in so that it's all very seamless.
So what about interface with the community? I mean, where do you start getting input from the community on what they think is best?
Look, we're used to that, but I would say
that's the design phase as we're shaping out the design. That's when we would start holding community meetings, and if you guys needed bond funding and working with tax districts to get approval, that's why we would produce fly-throughs and different renderings to help work with that and help the community visualize. And then it also helps with the context. You know, if you have that community college across, you can get a realistic picture.
Yeah, so to clarify, a majority of our clients are public hospitals. We do very, very minimal for private clients. So we are very used to the idea of what's for a public hospital and to have community. So that is something that we're very into.
Question. I heard you say that you work very closely with us. So when we have questions or need to meet, you say you would be here. So are you all flying from different areas? Where do you?
We're like an hour away.
Okay, so you're driving.
We just drive right over, and we have clients who are nearby. So I mean, like we're coming from other places. We would be here. Quickly within the same day. Yeah, that's not a problem. That's something that we In fact, I have a client that's about 20 minutes away, and he was so used to when he would call me, I'd be there in 20 minutes, but I moved where I parked my car, and I got there in 30 minutes, and he was like, what happened? You usually get here 20 minutes. So I'm just gonna say, we're known for our quick reaction, so. Hope that answered the question.
So,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
how are we gonna build it? We, from the RFQ, and you guys asked us about our CMAR and design bid build experience. We have experience in both methods, not just in theory, but in actual project delivery, especially with public hospitals, as Anna mentioned. And when it comes to public projects, there's specific items, procurement requirements, funding constraints that we're familiar with, so we can deliver with these different methods, and we know how those factors shape the right delivery strategy. So as you can see, both CMAR, which is Construction Manager at Risk for anybody that doesn't know, and Design Bid Build offer distinct advantages. The key is really knowing which method benefits your project, and that's where we can help. We have hands-on experience delivering public projects through both methods. And in particular, we have guided clients through the CMAR procurement process, which we start with developing the CMAR RFQ. We support and participate in interviews and help assist with final selection and determination.
Well, out of the last 10 projects that you did, how many were CMAR and how many were design bid build?
Of the last 10, 3 were CMAR, and the rest were design bid build. Yeah.
So we got a majority of design bid build.
Yeah, well, because CMAR is kind of newish. Yeah. So that's the only reason why. I think they're getting on board, but yeah.
The last 3 CMAR projects we did were large.
And again, we work for public clients, and there's a limit on CMAR. So I know it's just changed, but it hadn't changed yet. So it really had to be a big project. And I'd say a majority of our projects aren't necessarily all big projects. We do big, but we'll also do your air handler replacement if you need it, So that is, so when you say 10, it's hard.
Yeah, well, so because of our experience, we can do more than just execute the delivery method. We are positioned to help guide you in selecting the approach that really aligns with your goals and the project needs. We will present you with options, but we don't just present you with the options. We help guide the decision as well, and then deliver on it.
So wrapping up the delivery piece of the presentation here, I'm going to talk a little bit about funding sources and different types of funding, especially the ones we're familiar with. So I just want to stress to you that we've been there and this team's been there and done that when it comes to other life funding sources. Realize you're a hospital district, and that means kind of finding that delicate balance between the money you have available versus community priorities. But the other options that are out there, obviously, we've got plenty of experience with USDA and FEMA going the federal route, and then the more traditional going to the bond market, finding the money there can help you as well. And then the other thing I would also offer is sometimes in situations in a rural hospital situation like this, you can go in search of grants, and we can be there to help support that effort as well. If that's something you decide to do.
Do y'all have dedicated people for that?
They're not dedicated, but we have people who have done it before and who are good at it and have good experience. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So you can also participation in community meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there it is right there. So we've got to keep them happy, right? Okay. Next slide. So that wraps up delivery. Now I want to show you 3 projects where we've done some of the things we've talked about before. And these are just representative, so there's more. But first of all, I'm going to talk about is Community Hospital. This is up in Illinois. It's a 25-bed replacement hospital, literally in the middle of a cornfield. Hospital moved from downtown Pinckneyville, about 5 miles down the road, and 25 beds, like I said, about 80,000 square feet of inpatient space. And then what made Pinckneyville a little bit unique attached to a health plan. It was about 40,000 square feet that helped take care of
members of the community. That was a USDA project. It was also a hospital district. So we're with USDA.
What was the total cost of that?
Oh, it's been a minute. I want to say, I need a calculator. It was about, it's been a minute. Pennyville's getting close to 10 years old. So things have changed dramatically in 10 years. If you guys go to the grocery store. It was, I think Pennyville was about $285 a square foot. So I'll have to do that math. I'm not, I went to UT. Sorry. But y'all can scratch that down and do the math later. So that was Pennyville. Next one we're going to show is Moore County Hospitals, right across the state line in Texas. So we finished up about a year ago. What was unique about this one? Well, in addition to also going after USDA dollars and being a hospital district, what you can see on the right-hand side of the image here is the existing hospital. The new hospital was built, they closed down Level Street and built the new hospital adjacent to the existing structure. All the forward-facing patient areas ran that new building, and then they repurposed the old building to hold things like labs, pharmacy, administration, things of that nature. So that really allowed them to kind of get the most bang for their buck in terms of where they put their money was all on the patient care side of things. So kind of unique.
This one is recent, right? Is it?
Year old, and you're gonna ask me.
A year old, and how much, how much per square foot was it?
It was closer to, I want to say it was closer to 375. Yeah.
Where is Dumas? What, I never heard of that.
Yeah, so,
Oh, almost in Oklahoma. Okay.
Okay, now we're gonna move to Louisiana. Now, look, we had a lot of examples from Louisiana in our book, but we decided to show you some new things here. But anyway, here's one in Louisiana. This was done by our two offices together. After Hurricane Katrina, St. Bernard Parish lost its only hospital. And in response, the hospital service district engaged our firm and Gresham Smith to give them a new replacement hospital, which was 32 beds. The challenge of this hospital was that they had no users and no program. And so we had to be pretty forward thinking to figure out what were they going to need as a rebuilding community. And we did that, and I think we were pretty successful. We built them a pretty resilient facility. And then later on, we built them a medical office building that was adjacent. This project had a CDBG funding, and we worked pretty closely with the owner on that because that was kind of complicated. We had to do different packages and work with them on a regular basis to make sure they were continuing the funding. So we're pretty familiar with that. In addition to doing the design of the building for this one, we also did the FF&E, the signage, and the cover package.
So what was that, 20 years ago?
This ended in 2014.
10,
And this
12
was
years
the
ago.
design bid build.
This one was design bid build. This was really before a lot. Yes.
Take up a lot of your time with questions.
You're good. We're very close.
Okay, but we're almost at the end. Okay, so why Salisbury Thompson Bragg Architects and Gresham Smith? So our team brings the people, the experience, and the approach to deliver success from day one. We pride ourselves on our dedicated team with the right people and the capacity to stay engaged from start to finish. Purposefully, our firm only pursues projects that are close enough to provide on-site service on a moment's notice, as I said before. You call and we'll be here. Our process is built on the right team with the right sequence, ensuring a coordinated approach. While some firms shift their staff based on availability, you'll have the same core team from the start to the finish, which helps you guys build trust with us and continuity and gives us some accountability. With our extensive experience in both CMAR and design bid build, we can advise and execute the method that best serves your project. As rural healthcare specialists, we understand the unique challenges of delivering projects in these environments, and we design with those realities in mind. Finally, we have a strong understanding of the funding strategies, aligning our design decisions with phasing and financial requirements. We're a committed partner focused on delivering a project that meets your goals and serves your community for years to come. Okay, at the end of the day, this is your project. Our role is to stand alongside you as a partner, listening, guiding, and working together to bring your vision to life. We have a leave behind, and it includes some highlights from this presentation, from our RFQ, and it also includes in it an article that we were asked to write for Healthcare Facilities Design Magazine, and it highlights one of our projects, and I feel like it gives you a little more of an insight into us and how we do things.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for allowing us and our team to have the opportunity to introduce ourselves to you and present our qualifications. And are there any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, ask us questions.
For a board that was typically quiet. I'm gonna ask you some questions, you just try to be brief in your response. And some of these questions were probably covered by the presentation.
Okay.
Anyway, just kind of rehash a bit. But again, this is not my repeating. You already told us, we might need to hear it twice.
Okay, sure.
So if you need me to repeat the question, please do. So focusing on one of your hospital projects, how did your design help operational efficiency? How did you look at that?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about West Jefferson Medical Center, which we just finished. That hospital had a lot of problems with flow. I mean, there were a lot of places where you go to a dead end and you were like, where do I go? And people would wander around. And so we did a lot of things in that hospital, but I would say the most successful thing was that we created a really nice flow so that people understood where they were going, where they needed to be, and gave spaces that were understandable. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
Not only on the interior, but also on the exterior.
I like how you mentioned full-scale mock-ups.
Yes. People love those full-scale mock-ups, and they use like sticky notes and put us notes.
We did it for the courthouse.
Yes, it was super.
How do you help guarantee long-term sustainability?
So that's one thing we really didn't talk about a whole lot, but our MEP partner, I know we've got a few facility folks in the room right now, but our MEP partner is going to be huge in this and answering the question that was just asked in terms of how do we build this thing for the long haul, right? So how do we, but be very conscious of today's budget. So we'll look at those. We'll ask you questions about what kind of horizon you're looking for in terms of a payback. You know, with some of our clients, that's a 7-year horizon. Some it's a 20-year horizon. Some it's a 3. Some of it's, if I can't afford it today, I can't afford it tomorrow. So we'll have those conversations as we're going through those kind of budget gates as we move through the approach and the design. But yeah, that's something we've got to be very, very smart about and use your money wisely today.
So is that the sustainability you're talking about, or are you talking about sustainability meaning like we designed a space for you today and you want to make sure that that space is still going to be good for
that too. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the other thing.
Together,
I mean, one of the things, like Alan said, we keep up with what is going on. We know what's happening. We know what's happening in other cities. We know we go to the conferences. We do all of the CEUs. We understand so that when we're designing something, we're designing for the next thing that's going to happen, and not only for what's happening now. So that's generally what we're looking at. We're looking at like some of the trends, so that you're not behind the times as soon as you finish it.
We're designing with flexibility.
Yes, and a lot of flexibility. Flexibility is very important.
Things will always change. Things will always evolve, and they're evolving, changing faster now than they ever have before. And I don't expect that to slow down. So the more flexibility we can build into what we do for y'all, the better off we'll be.
A lot of stakeholders connected to hospital service districts, a lot of them in the room, but public also. And so how do you manage stakeholder expectations and garner stakeholder support during design and during construction? Public, I mean, you conduct public.
We do, I mean, and look, we talk about it, we're always available. So we'll meet with anyone as much as you want or as little as you want. And then we also like to provide you some pretty pictures, which I do think really helps with stakeholders understanding what they're about to get, you know? If you're very vague about what it is, they're not gonna be excited. But if you show them something, it allows them to understand what they think they need.
Well, do you typically schedule public meetings?
We do.
At the stages.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
I think it's important to go where the people go. A little bit not answering the question, but as an example, you've got to just be available after 5 p.m., before 8 a.m., at lunchtime, whenever it is to meet those individuals. You know, we've had big hospitals we work on where it's impossible to get with the surgeons and ask them for their input on things. So we go hang out in their lounge.
We always end up meeting at lunch. Because that's what people don't
I have a
schedule.
couple of related questions here. How do you balance those stakeholder expectations and the clinical needs for the project with the financial constraints that, you know, to design the right size project?
So we do it a lot, and I think that having a good understanding of what things cost and what is needed, I think that we generally are able to give them a lot of times most of what they need, and maybe not any of the extras, but within the budget that they're looking for. And then we also offer alternatives. So we're always going to be looking for what are the possibilities. We have never had a project where we had an ample budget. It was always tight, and we've always made it work.
So how do you handle this delicate situation? Suppose this board says they want things they can't afford.
Well, I mean, we're pretty straightforward. And that's the reason why we do those budgets so often, because we have to bring you to reality and show you this. And sometimes it takes us showing you what the amount you have gets you. So as long as you guys are upfront with us about what you can afford, we'll be upfront with you about what you can get.
What are you seeing as a?
And we will.
Yeah, we'll show you, you know, maybe it's not working out, but this is what you can get, this is what you can expect. So we're not just gonna come here and say, no, sorry, you can't get that, that doesn't work, you don't have enough money. We're gonna show you what you can get and hopefully align with the goals.
And we'll
So let's just say a 40,000 square foot hospital, 25 beds. What is that running per square foot today?
I mean, again, we're gonna say.
We're making the budget right now.
So I'm gonna say somewhere between, because that's scale, so it's gonna be somewhere between 375 a square foot.
But we've heard bigger numbers than that.
Have you? Well, that's the design and design.
That's a.
Yeah, and then I want to be really clear, that's construction.
That is.
That's not going to buy you any medical equipment, that's not going to buy you furniture, any artwork, it's not going to pay us or an attorney or a land surveyor or a geotech, that's just bricks and mortar.
All right, let's move on. Tell us about a project, if possible, that didn't go as planned and how you adjusted the design or adjusted your approach to save the project.
So I'm gonna say, if you look in your little folder, the article that we wrote, that project did not go as we expected. COVID hit and all things changed. And we were redesigning as the contractor was constructing. And you adapt. I mean, the needs change.
Was that a CMAR project?
It was a CMAR project. It was a CMAR project, and what happened was the needs changed. The other thing that happened in that project was they would construct a space and realize what they thought they wanted and what they thought they needed was not actually what they ended up needing. And so we were constantly, and that was just something you just have to roll with the punches. So that was one.
Okay, so it sounded like you didn't want to really make a recommendation to this board at this point, whether they should go see more or design.
It's something we want to talk about.
If you're talking about a $40 or $50 million project, what makes sense?
mean, I'm monopolizing the. So I would say the ones that we've been doing recently have been CMAR, and it allows us some flexibility because it allows us to know real time, real numbers. So I'm gonna say that. But sometimes.
CMAR is probably best when your schedule.
And when you're scheduled.
And when your funding allows it.
Yes.
You may end up in a funding situation like USDA where CMAR becomes a little more difficult and design build becomes a little more realistic.
So
I'll put that asterisk on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I sold them you.
Okay, yeah.
So we can weigh it all.
They depend on you.
Yeah.
Guide them.
We can,
Yes.
we can guide.
We can guide it. We've done both.
We had a project that we just finished that one project started as design bid build, and then on the same campus, the same client started another project that was CMAR. And we had to run both of them at the same time on the same schedule.
With actually the same contract. He was CMAR on one and he was design.
So the estimated, I've done a few CMAR projects, but the estimated delivery from when you start design till move-in, how does that compare with CMAR versus design bid build?
Well, it's definitely faster, if that's what you're asking. Yes, CMAR, I mean, that is the reason why on that WestJet job we did CMAR, was because they had a tight time frame. They also were looking, because when we started to look at it, their budget was tight. And so we really needed to phase things so that they could figure out how things would be afforded over time and not like shut certain things down. So it all just, when we all looked at it, it turned out CMAR was the way to go. But you have a little less control over the price, because it's, yeah. So that's the downside of it, is that you bid it out and you know exactly what it's gonna be. But it takes time and it gives you a little less flexibility.
So we got to get ready for the next group.
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
but thank you guys for coming.
We're
Appreciate
good.
it.
I didn't have anything else, any other questions from the board?
Anything that requires a calculation?
Yeah. Sure.
I would like to pick y'all brain just one more on the just gathering information on what we want. We're 5 people, but we represent the opinions of 10,000. What does that actually look like in terms of y'all collecting information on what this town wants, or what this, side of the parish wants in this hospital? I'm picturing, going into churches, I'm picturing all of that kind of stuff. What is y'all experience in that kind of?
Yeah, done it before, done probably everything you could imagine. I will say that we're gonna start with you.
Absolutely,
And then we're gonna start with your frontline department users and talk to them. And then we'll go to the community and kind of fold that into where we're already heading. But I mean, y'all are the 5 that are gonna get this train moving, right?
Absolutely.
You're gonna send it down the track, and we're just gonna add things to it as it trundles on down the track.
What is like a possible time range? Time frames?
Schedules.
Just a question, Ed, I think
Yeah.
Design.
Yeah.
He's already structured.
for the construction.
Yeah, why is it?
I think if we had, I believe we put estimated 14 months of construction for the CMAR method, and we added a little bit more time, probably 16 months. It's just construction for design bid build, but it was, I think we allowed ourselves 2 months for the initial phases, and then 16 or 14 in the CMAR for construction, and then concurrently with the construction, 4 months for licensing, transition, medical equipment.
So that's about it.
Thank you all so much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Good job.
over. We took a little 5-minute break, so we'll be all ready for you guys. So, and for Will, I'd like to start off with our board members here to introduce themselves, and Shelton also, if you will.
I'm Shelton. Nice to meet you.
LaDarby Williams. Cherie Levy, board member.
And I'm Bill Dawson.
Falcon Mir.
Tanya Mitchell, board
And I'm Gaston, the city owner's director of the project. I'll be asking some questions later, but please get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are a lot different than they were 2 years ago. I'm just going to start off by saying that. When we came by on Monday and, saw Shelton again, it's almost 2 years to the day. Next week. It was April 24th, 2024. I was here in front of you guys. And I'm not, hey Steve, I'm not kidding though. The excitement, and it's just so different. It's amazing. The census has gone up. People are here. Patients are here. Kudos to you guys, because I've been on boards making decisions like this. I've been in those seats, and thank you for everything you've done for the community, because it's awesome, regardless of what happens. So it's exciting to see. That said, before I introduce myself and we go through this again, I want to talk about 3 main points. So if you leave anything, if you get anything from this presentation at the end, I want you to understand these 3 main points. Number 1, our healthcare expertise. So for close to 50 years, our firm's been around, and we've been doing healthcare for over 50 years. We're right around 47. We're getting close, creeping up on 50 years. But our expertise in-house and the clients and the owners that we work with, I'd put us up on a national level. It doesn't matter if you're coming in from California because you're a healthcare guru. We've got the same level of expertise right here, right across the river. Number 2 is our local commitment. So we are local. Traffic was fun today. Depending on when I need to come over, 30 to 40 minutes, I'm sure we could get here. But we're local, and that's why we've been around for 47 years, is because we got that healthcare expertise, and we are local. Within a day's drive, we're pretty much all over the state, period. You put the 2 of those things together, it means a lot. And then our dedicated relationships to our clients. So not just the clients, it's the facility managers, it's our engineers, it's all the contractors that we work with across the board. We have to continue to work with them. You're going to have my cell phone number at the end of this thing. So when we get through that warranty period, all the way past that, you need to have a good relationship with the mechanical engineer when something goes down, with the electrical engineer when the helipad lights aren't coming on. I mean, those things are extremely important. So we do these things really, really well in this area. So that said, I'm Matt Caillouette. I'm a partner. We're all 3 owners in the firm. I've been at the office for 20 years now. And you're going to see me all the way through. I am a detail guy. I love the nuts and bolts. I'm going to be doing construction administration all the way through. But I'll be there from the beginning with Micah and Angel, all the way through every single construction meeting that we have, all the way through the warranty period 1 year after substantial completion.
Did this used to be Washer? Is that?
It was Washer Hill Lipscomb, and then it was Washer Hill Lipscomb Cabinets, and it's still Washer Hill Lipscomb Cabinets.
Okay.
It's right next to me.
Okay.
Yeah. We were in ground here. So
You did.
It's still,
okay,
as well as the Lipscomb cabinets.
I'm not the C, but that's me.
So I am Angela Bernieri, as Matt said, also a partner and architect at the firm. They beat me out as far as the amount of time at the office, but I started in 2007. So we have been working together very closely on healthcare, essentially for that span of time. For this project, as well as just in general, my expertise is medical. I absolutely loved it, or I love it. In college, I would have never guessed that is where I landed, but there's something about you're working with people who are trying to make people's lives better, and it's mission driven, and it's a soft spot that I've really found. So for this, I would be your medical planner, involved in early programming, schematic design, equipment coordination, really working to make sure we understand your vision and we right-size things for the future.
I'm Micah Morgan. I'm also a partner. So I've been full-time 20 years in a week, so just a little bit. I worked with Russell in college, and then went off to Houston and Atlanta, and then we came back. So love working at it. I do a lot of things around the office. I've been heavily involved in all of the healthcare that we do. For this job, I would be more on the schematic design, the earlier phases, planning and schematic, and then the design development. So James saw the cover and asked us if that's what it was gonna look like, and I said, we'd love to, tell you what that was, but we need your help. So, that would be my role in helping figure that out.
So we'd like to touch on some of our relevant experience. Please interrupt us along the way. If you've got a question, we would love for this to be conversational. We're trying to keep it a tight 20 to have time for questions, but you guys are running the show. We want to touch on our healthcare expertise, as Matt mentioned, our longstanding relationships, and then end with some of our experience for critical access systems. So as Matt mentioned, almost 50 years of experience with healthcare design. This ranges from everything from ground up campus planning, basically Baton Rouge General Bluebonnet. We have been there from the very start. But that also means campus planning and expansion, such as what you're doing here today. New construction, renovation, essentially we have touched every aspect of the hospital of what you're doing today, in addition to outpatient services, et cetera. So we love it, it's wonderful. With that, we have had the luxury of working with many different healthcare providers across the state. This is a slide that you would never see on our website. We try to keep it quiet, or in that, we pride ourselves in the relationships. And essentially, if we've done a good job, we get a call back. That's really the measure of a good project. And thankfully, for some of these clients, Baton Rouge General, for example, we have been getting that call back consistently for over 35 years. But that is in addition to many of these other systems here. And really, we want to be there to solve the big problem of, hey, we need to bring a hospital. But frankly, that's not always the need that healthcare providers have. It might be swapping out imaging equipment, or we really need to expand this service. So again, building upon those relationships and then getting to do them with these partners has been very special. And this has taken us all around Louisiana. As Matt mentioned, Baton Rouge is home. Louisiana is a drive distance away in every corner. All the areas in blue are areas that we currently service or have service. This includes the major cities, but also the small communities. And kind of as I touched on in the beginning, healthcare design is something that's very important. It helps the people who are well in the community, who are sick in the community. It's really a community hub. So we see our small part of being part of these projects as really bettering the community that we serve. So we feel very passionate about it. So touching on some of these healthcare services, which are, again, day-to-day, just normal services for us, campus planning. So it could be a brand new campus. It could be expanding like you are doing today. It also goes into the facility programming. So we need to work closely with you to understand what service lines are you interested in? What do you not have that could be better to add for the community? What maybe you need to right size, so it's a certain size today, but it needs to be smaller or larger. And then taking all of that and working in the phasing component of it. Healthcare is very complicated in that you often can't turn it, or you can never shut it down. You can't shut down community service. So finding a solution that it works with it. So new construction, renovation, we have strong relationships with the authorities having jurisdiction, the local fire marshal office, Department of Health to ask questions and be a conduit for you guys. And then last but certainly not least is interior design. We have an in-house interior design department. It's led by our principal, Emily Guidry, who is a certified healthcare interior designer. So she, like me, kind of caught that healthcare bug without realizing or looking for it. She says it found her, but she's very versed in everything from finishes that will last as far as the architectural finishes, but also the furniture selection and fabrics that really perform.
So have you guys done anything in Ascension?
Yes.
I saw that. What was it? I'm sure you'll probably.
Well, I think most of y'all might have toured it, the Baton Rouge General Ascension. Yeah, that was 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah. I think 2 slides ago, that lobby picture is actually the Baton Rouge.
That's what I recognized.
Right? Yep. Bottom.
Yeah, on the bottom. Yeah, right.
Yes.
We're driving piles in Livingston for another one right now.
Second generation of that. So to that relationships thing, we went and interviewed and did a whole interview, post-occupancy evaluation of that facility in Ascension. We made changes for them and going in. So yeah, but we did do that one.
Well, we went to Livingston also. I don't know, I did. Oh, yeah, I did. I wasn't the only one.
So, yeah, it's a big pile of dirt, right? They run a lot of dirt on the site. You can slide down it. If it ever snows, it'll be great. You can sled down it, but it's about to go up. So that's a good segue into, I wanted to show you a few projects. We didn't put Ascension up here. This is by no means all of our projects, and feel free to ask us about anything, our work. But these are the ones we thought, were relevant to your situation. But we bring, as we said, almost 50 years of experience. So this is Abbeville General currently wrapping up construction documents for an expansion for them. This is with the Sellers Group. This is a USDA funded project with Steve. So we know that's a concern for you guys is that's the way that this will be going. So we helped them with the programming and things and went through every stage. With USDA, it can be a hurry up and wait kind of thing. There's a lot of different gates and stages. And so, we have to work up to that and then submit. And I'll talk a little bit about that more. But on the programming, the only thing we had to do was we added another LDR. It's a surgical expansion and LDR expansion. We had to right size one of the LDR, shrink some of the rooms, and add another room for efficiency. But that was really the only big comment we got back from them. And like I said, we're in CDs now. You can see kind of what it looks like, taking the flavor of what was there before. It is a CMAR also with JB Mouton. We've gone through also with them cost savings, redoing the structure of the roof to save money by sloping the roof structure, all that kind of stuff that we go through as we get into the detailing.
What was the cost per square foot on that?
I don't remember the cost per square foot.
Do the math real quick. I turned my phone off, so I'm sorry.
I want to see if they can do it.
We'll get a copy if you want to do the math.
It's an expansion. The last one too.
That's right.
Expansion and renovation.
It's quite a complex. It's not a greenfield site. This is another one that we did with St. Martin Hospital expansion. So they are similar to you. They had in a neighborhood, a small hospital had an existing facility. They chose to add on. We went through 2 or 3 different schemes with them. One was a 2-story, and then wound up with this 1-story that really hit the nail on the head in terms of putting the Dopplers in the right place. So we built out a whole new 25-bed expansion, which became basically the new hospital, and then a small surgical suite with a cath lab and an OR and an MRI in there. And then in addition to that, so the thing they say about it, we went and toured the CEO after. He said our biggest problem is we have trouble getting people to leave.
They don't want to leave.
They just want to stay here and they don't want to go home.
Seriously.
And then they brought us back. Master plan wise, we put another little clinic. We had planned for another clinic, and we just completed with some money they got a new clinic, and that'll be in operation. But one of the things too, they had these swaths of cane field and things with the drainage ditches. So as part of that, we did a major drainage redirecting in order to get them both their current facility and expansion ability outside of that for future development. So similar in a lot of ways.
Is that in St. Martinville?
It's in Broke Ridge. Yeah, so it's St. Martin Hospital, but it's hospital served Burton Dupree, and it's in Broke Ridge right there outside.
Okay. Just happens to be where the governor's from. Is that right?
Well, this was prior to him.
They voted for themselves. They voted to fund it themselves. So this was all funded on community dollars. So Mr. Burton is a great man. He's been in that community. He keeps us honest on the price, and we had to justify every dollar we were spending. Again, back to those 2 or 3 different options. Some of them were just too expensive. So, but in the end, nobody wants to leave. So.
They called last week of, hey, we're thinking of converting this, run some quick plans. So again, to the callback. So
that was during COVID.
84.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, I was doing construction administration.
56 million. 56 million?
We didn't stop working during COVID. I mean, we were working harder and longer than we ever had. Dollars flowing through for healthcare. So, but anyway.
So this next project, this is our most recently completed critical access hospital. So this is Lady of the Sea Hospital. For any of you unfamiliar, they basically got a total hospital replacement because of Ida. When we were.
Is that where they have the wall of fame? They remove baits out of people's heads.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah. Let's see, yes, that's what everybody calls it down there.
I went there one day.
My uncle was there 2 months ago, unfortunately.
Their emergency department's great, if you ever find yourself in that situation. And they wanted to keep the theme alive, as you can see, there's images of like the water and the fish boats, shrimp boats. They really wanted it of the community. But when we got hired, we had one mission. They said they did not want a fancy hospital. It's a matter of when we will get hit by another hurricane, not if. So they wanted this building to last. So we call it the beautiful bunker that it is. We got very creative as far as how that exterior skin was designed to withstand extreme hurricane force winds. There are shutters at all of the doors to where they can harden in place. There was a lot of exercise about hardening of any kind of weak point on the roof to prevent from what happened before. So it was.
Actually presenting a national conference with the facilities director
Yeah.
to that very effect.
Is it on piers? Is it on piles?
So because they're within the levee system, we didn't have to elevate.
But it's on piles, it's deep foundations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not up in the sky. So mission number one, had to withstand hurricanes. Mission number two is help us right-size the thing. So they had been down in the hospital for a while. They had surgery in the previous hospital through the funding mechanism of FEMA. We could have added surgery to it, but they basically decided to allocate those dollars elsewhere. They had invested heavily in dialysis for the community. And essentially, we designed the hospital in a way, if and when they needed to add surgery, we have a slot to add it. So inpatient unit, fully swing bed licensed to give a lot of flexibility to the community, emergency department, imaging. They were over the moon that there is an in-house MRI, so they were so excited, in addition to CT, X-ray, mammography, DEXA, respiratory therapy, a full lab, phlebotomy area, pharmacy, dining, kitchen, but last and not least, the community room. They wanted that not only for their board meetings, but to serve the community. So if there was a local organization that needed to have a meeting, they could rent it out. It's located right across from the kitchen. So really trying to find ways to bring additional value to that community.
I'll add
Beds in this.
How many beds?
I think we are at 25 for this one.
Same.
So this job was a construction manager at risk project, along with Donahue Fabre. And, you know, what that did for us was that basically took a 22 to 24 month construction duration if you did a design bid build, and it let us take it and turn it into an 18-month construction duration. So, you know, we did a lot of early release on generators, panels, you name it. And I'll get into the CMAR stuff a little bit later. I spoke out of turn, but since we were here, it's me. Not a lot of pretty stuff up here, but this is kind of where you are, almost where we left off 2 years ago. We were in a different room, and I think we talked a lot about grass cutting contracts at that meeting, but here we are now.
That meeting.
So we're doing some work with Hood and Hood Memorial and AMEET, and you know, we went and I previously had worked with Mike Whittington at North Oaks and Hammond when Mike was working for North Oaks Health System there, but Mike now is the CEO up here. And we spent a lot of time. I love data and I love construction, so we spent a tremendous amount of time and did the same thing. Got above all the ceilings, got on the roofs, did a complete facility assessment, figured out same time period of this hospital when it was built. We had no space above ceiling. If we were going to renovate, the only thing you could turn these buildings into was office space, which you're not going to get reimbursed for, which doesn't balance the books, you know, from the CFO standpoint.
Thank you.
So we had a couple options for them. You can see the footprint for the old hospital here, and we had to prove it out. We have to prove it out in a programmatic square footage standpoint. We have to prove it out and how that's going to work from a construction sequencing standpoint. We have opinions of probable cost. We have ranges from contractors on the high end and the low end. I mean, this is everything that's got to go into that preliminary submission for USDA. And, you know, that's really where we're at. We worked together with Stroudwater, their feasibility experts on the Northeast, and had several calls with them, scrubbed the program, looked at the square footage. They blessed it. we were good. So
How much did they get from USDA?
well, the project's kind of paused at this point. And I think there were a lot of, policy issues that changed with our governor and Medicare and Medicaid reimbursable rates. And they kind of put the pause button on it. But we're at the point where we're basically ready to kind of, whenever they say go, we're back on it. And I think they're ready to get their preliminary submission together. So
how much money is it?
I think, and I redacted it all, but I think this was 2 years ago.
But I don't think they got the final determination
No.
from USDA.
Oh, no, they did not. They didn't.
We'd be happy to.
Construction cost estimate, I think, 2 years ago was.
Well, how about a percentage of the total cost? How much did they get almost their whole investment?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, honestly, Mr. Bill. I don't think we got there. Yeah.
They're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not, yeah.
You frankly will probably beat them to it, and that, I think Mike over at Hood, they're really just trying to make sure service line decisions, and we're really struggling with that surgery point that I mentioned that lady at the scene. That was the last conversation we had. That was what, December-ish, of like really trying to validate what services to bring on. They're looking at the metrics along with Stroudwater, but the decision hadn't been made yet, so.
They also struggle with whether or not, they had a few outbuilding clinics too, and should we put that square footage in here, should we not? So that's where we're at with that.
I just want to make sure that we're clear about you did the evaluation of replace with new buildings or renovate existing buildings. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct.
So can you tell me, was that evaluation even close or?
Yeah, that was the issue. I think it was the same thing that I presented to you guys, that the numbers were just a few $1 million off. It made no sense not to build new.
Okay.
Construction duration, it takes so much more time. If you think about your site, we can build a new one in the back while you're still operating here. They can get it done in 18 months and then you move. As opposed to all of the sequences that we have to do, the bits and pieces, and then the construction dollars.
The challenging too is like the aging infrastructure. I mean, they're having issues with their pipes, overhead ceiling clearance is non-existent. And when you're trying to add.
Did they have air exchange problems too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
As well as some, air conditioning systems that wouldn't be in place today if you would have an inpatient unit. So they're really just behind the curve ball. And then it's the constant investment of dollars of maintenance to that facility on top of just that day one cost. So in their mind, it felt pretty cut and dry. It's a new building. I mean, nothing's done until it's done. So they could pivot, but
we're going to keep the train moving. I don't want to.
Yeah, sorry.
So our process and project management, and hopefully this is kind of coming across. We are who we say we are. So you can ask more questions. We wanted to present to you our design team, design process, and talk about delivery methods, because we understand that was a point of question for you as well. So as far as our project team, as mentioned, the three of us have extensive experience with healthcare working together. In addition, we have Rick Lipscomb, Martha Solomon, and Emily Guidry, who are part of the team. These are excellent healthcare leaders in our community. Rick is American College of Healthcare Architects, as well as myself. Martha Solomon has a tremendous amount of code experience in working with the local jurisdictions. If you have a code pickle, you cannot stop Miss Martha. Emily Guidry, as I mentioned, certified healthcare interior designer, and is very knowledgeable on all things interiors. In addition to that is the consultant team. So we are WHLC. The team is not complete until you have all of the people around the table. So ADG is the proposed MEP engineer. We have countless healthcare experience with them, many of which we have presented to you today, as well as others left off the table. In addition, Fox Nesbitt for structural, DDG for civil, food service consultants that we've worked with on countless healthcare projects as well. So a proven team, we are brand new working together. And then although you are meeting 4 of us, this is Katie, we have a wonderful crew at our firm of very qualified individuals, many of which who have been with our firm for many years. So the bench is deep with people who would be servicing this project in addition to ourselves.
Are you downtown Baton Rouge? Is that where you are?
We're actually off of Perkins between Fleabonnet and Seagan.
Okay.
Russell, I don't know the story.
There was nothing out there, and then the city grew up.
It was like with the Klein Peter Dairy Farm.
Yeah.
And our office.
Oak Hills neighborhood. I live in the back of Oak Hills and the office is in the front.
You're welcome at our office at any time.
Used to be a little house on the front.
When did y'all finish building that office?
It was under
20 years ago.
during Hurricane Katrina.
That was the Russell Long house. The little house.
His house, he still has, he's still in the same neighborhood. Is that what you're asking?
It was a Russell Long house. A Russell Long,
I don't know.
if I'm thinking about it the same.
All right.
We're gonna ask and find out when we get back.
Report back to us without.
Stay tuned.
You gotta know all the details of it.
We get little stories from the old days, you know.
Yeah.
But, no, we just wanted to talk briefly about how we work. And I think hopefully it's coming through. As Angel said, you know, we have a lot of different expertise and that all comes together. So not just getting an architect, getting a certified planner and regs, that architecture, are certified interior, to produce a balanced solution. And then this isn't specific to USDA or any of the discussions we've had, but it touches on all of them too. You're asking a lot of very specific, a lot of great questions, a lot of the ones we've been through with other people, and it's about how we go about answering those questions. First, we come with no, I didn't say this earlier, but we come with no ego. We come with no expectation of what this will be, whether it's new or whether we're renovating. We've done both. We've shown examples of both, whether it's, you know, whatever it will look like. We don't have a design standard. Like it will be, each one of these is a partnership with the facility that we come up with. So to that end, the first thing we do is to understand. So we empathize and define the problem. So if we don't define what the real problem is on the front end, we don't know when we've succeeded. So, you know, we would go about that in the same process. Then we come to envision and modeling. That's where we really bring our skills to bear. We begin to show you what it could look like, show you options, give you those reports that Matt has. And when we say modeling, we do mean computer modeling. So we model it in the computer, but we also mean the financial modeling and the data modeling and all that other kind of stuff that we can help bring to bear with the partners that you have at Stroudwater and Steve Masaka. And then review, as Matt said, we carried through. And then at any point, if we find ourselves getting away, we check back with those original goals, and if we need to reevaluate, we do. So this is just kind of that. Again, every phase has different meetings and things that were associated with it, but we understand development. And so here are just some of those skills we bring. We have drones, we can scan existing, we can scan the outside. And then I think one of the ones that we really pride ourselves on is a lot of people have trouble knowing what your building is going to look like. It's very important. It's important to the community. It's important for getting people behind you and selling the project, and then also just knowing what it's going to look like. So we do all of our renderings in-house, and we have for years and years and years. And so here's North Oaks, their latest building, and you can see the rendering. This is the rendering, and that's the reality. So
This was just finished in September of last year. CMAR with Lemoyne.
All tool, normal tools in our toolbox, standard practice.
Yeah, we do this for every project.
I ask them how much per square foot.
Time is of the essence. Jesus. This is so we use communication methods. We use all those that are available to us. We talked about the digital modeling. This is that Ascension project broken out into all the different components. You can see how we did it. And then also the communication in terms of we use project management software that tracks all of our comments and all the data to make sure that everybody's up to date.
We have an audit log on every daggum email. So, that's the biggest thing. We start out small with a little bit of information, and the more layers you add, it's just, it's just tremendous, the amount of work that goes into these things between all of us. So.
How many team meetings, when you're in the construction or the design and the construction phase, how often do you have team meetings, which includes us, would include somebody from
It's going to be, you take the front end, but yeah.
So what we try to do is you kind of think of the design phase, we're working really general to very specific. In the beginning, we are meeting with you a lot. We are hashing out big ideas very quickly. Is this in, is it out? As we get deeper into the design process, there will be less meetings because decisions are made. They are documented, they are blessed, we all celebrate, and we are moving forward with the mission. but we check back in to make sure that we're on the right path. So there is not we will meet X amount of times. It just depends on how fast we get
Do
there.
you start off with like weekly meetings or?
Typically in the design phase, let's say schematic design lasts 3 months just for this exercise, we would probably be meeting at least monthly. So let's say 3 times. Now, if we have the first meeting, we aren't in consensus as far as where we're going, we would meet more and get those scheduled. But it's always helpful for you guys. We can plan it out in advance, get them on the calendar, secure the time, because we know, your time is valuable.
And so do you do a needs assessment or?
Yes, so step one, kind of these color bars, step one, first and foremost, program. We need to understand what you want, how big it
All the
should
way
be,
up here.
and get that validated. So we'll confirm program. We'll also understand your budget target and talk about that at day one. Because if we don't have the vision of what it is and how much you want to spend, we could be going into outer space together. So we get consensus on where we're headed. Then we start putting rough diagramming together to show department adjacencies. Is it 1 story? Is it 2 stories? How do those staff flows, personnel flows, to make sure we are on the right track?
And who would be our point of contact on that?
Matt would be the solid point of contact throughout the entire project. That said.
So all the issues would funnel through him.
I deal with nothing but problems. I'm a conflict resolution guy, but yeah, we won't have conflict
But that's
at all.
You will have all of our cell phone numbers. In the beginning, what ends up happening in that programming stage and early stage, we are talking all the time.
We're gonna.
These guys will be with me all of the time, but you can.
And you propped us up really well because, whether you go design bid build or CMAR, we're going to establish all of these meeting points with you right at the beginning. I mean, we're going to have to meet a lot during programming, all the department heads. We need everybody's input. I mean, James said it best, and hopefully this is coming across. This is a community effort. So we don't have all the answers. We got to talk to you guys. We need to know what Stroudwater says, what the demographics say, what service lines you need to have in the hospital that makes sense, what can grow. So we need to meet with everybody at the beginning. During construction, we'll be meeting weekly, without a doubt. But equipment planning is huge in here too, and I'm gonna move faster. I'm getting the time.
I can see, we're on, I hope it's come across, we're integrally involved in every step of every one of these jobs. All these jobs, we've shown you, we've all touched.
All 4 of you guys.
So,
yeah.
So, what Katie's been, but she learned.
All right, so I look, I'll try to be quick because I think we might be running out of time, but we've got a lot of construction manager at risk experience, okay? I've done right at $1 billion worth of construction administration in the last 20 years. We did the first CMAR job in the state of New Orleans East after Hurricane Katrina. It was a pilot program, okay, with 3 other architects and the Lemoyne Company. Right now, we have a $93 million job under construction in Baton Rouge for the state police. It's a crime lab, very similar to healthcare, a lot of mechanical, a lot of labs, all right? And that was the first job through FP&C that went to early release on budget, and we haven't done a change order yet. So
we went to GMP at DD. So those color bars, you normally go to GMP at CDs. So because of the trust of the partnership with the design team and really working as fast as we could all together and understanding the critical timeline and wanting to go live, that's what we're going to do it.
Let you move fast, right? Early procurement. The earlier you have involvement.
What's GMP?
Oh,
guaranteed max price.
Guaranteed max price.
Sorry.
So construction manager at risk is CMAR. We talk in acronyms. Thank you.
Okay. Like, let me just.
Oh, design development. Okay, I see it.
So look, this is a diagram of the state statute for CMAR, okay? And what it shows you is that the earlier you get a contractor partner involved, the greater your chance to make sure that that project's a success, okay? The state statute, there's programming and scoping, there's program validation, schematic design, which is SD for us, design development, which is, DD for us, construction documents, CDs, and then we get into this pricing phase over here. Now, I left off bidding and negotiations because this isn't a bid job, right? This is a negotiated job. But what's really good about the CMAR process is that it marries up really, really well with the preliminary submission you have to make for USDA, as well as that final submission, because it legally binds that contractor to schedule, timeline, and price. And if you don't like the price when you get to the end, you can bid the job. That's what's good about it. So you get a partner on board early. We can figure out, before we put too much information out there, what makes the most sense, what's going to save the hospital dollars from construction sequencing. We did it at Lady of the Sea, where they really wanted the crawl space, and we decided, you know what, let's not do that. We're going to save X amount of dollars. So we decided to change course, and we changed direction. The whole design team moved around, but you can go and do early procurement on generators, whatever you need to do. They can start ordering things that have a longer lead time to shorten your window to getting into the new hospital. But you have to bring them on before we get 30% of the way through that whole design process. Okay, and we've done that. I've written RFQs along with outside counsel for hospital service districts, and we've led that whole process, bringing in the contractors, doing this exact meeting for the contractors while I sat in the corner. I made coffee for everybody and had cookies, and we tallied up all those votes. So we're real familiar with that. And we've worked with all those contractors, from Womack to Lemoyne to Arkell to Mouton to Cangelosi Ward, you name it. So they are required, just as we are required, to give you a price, to check that price, and then you can go to contract with them with a guaranteed max price with an owner contingency throughout that job moving forward.
When we say it's not bid, we just mean the general contractor. The work itself is being bid and is open to the subs and all that stuff. So it's only the general, and they're not self-performing work. So you still get that price. If the concern is like we're giving it to them too early and we don't have any price validation in the market, that comes along with CMAR as well.
We can pick how many big subs they want to bid.
State laws say about when you have to get approval from the legislature.
So there's, in the state statute, there's a certain dollar amount. So for healthcare, the minimum dollar amount for CMAR is $5 million.
Well, no, it went to 2 last summer. Yeah, we tested. Yeah.
It was 5. Yes.
We would be spending a little bit more than that.
You would be a little more than 2.
Yes.
Correct.
So part of the.
There's no point. It used to be you had to go back to the state legislature.
It was over 25 million, went to 5 last summer, went down to 2. We were asked to actually go and testify, but they didn't need us, so we were good with that.
And for Kaplan, we're doing a rural health clinic, and they were very concerned about who might bid that clinic because, it far exceeded the 2 million mark, but they were concerned about someone who doesn't know healthcare coming in. So they elected to do CMAR. We guided them through crafting that. And basically the contractors interview the same style we are right now, and you select them based on qualifications.
I'm gonna skip this. This is some of our other. Yeah. So look, I'm gonna skip through some of these too. We know where we were, April 24th, 2024.
So yeah, this is your site. You've gotten some new property since we were here last time, so it's a great opportunity. You have a large greenfield site. As Matt said, already some wonderful things, and I think it seems like you have the right team on board for this project. But there's also some challenges. We have the drainage and the power that's coming through there. It's a pretty narrow site with a narrow frontage. So we're architects. We think visually. We can't, you show us a blank piece of paper and we have to put something on it. So we just did some diagrams. By no means is this what we think we would, proposing what you should do, but it's a point of conversation and discussion. So just looking at it, one opportunity would be to come off that loop road, have that front entrance, a little more parking, a little more retention. As Matt said, you could build this whole hospital and ED without touching your existing facility. You can have that access with the maintenance. I think Angela, you were talking about access to.
It's way too early architecture. This is likely not your solution. Full disclosure. But what we heard when we toured on Monday, when you guys offered that up to us, is and just looking at the site plan. The site circulation of people entering the main entry versus the emergency department entry can be congested. It's very close. So with this solution, we liked the idea of separating those. So off of Loop Road, you can have your main grand entry to the hospital. If you're visiting mom who's in the inpatient unit, that's where you would come in. If it is an emergency situation where ambulances are coming in or someone is driving themselves to the emergency department, they would go off of Memorial Drive. So trying to have that circulation separated helps from a visitor standpoint as well as a staff standpoint. This option also affords you an even further backdoor for maintenance, deliveries, things of that nature. So this kind of starts to show the first effort as we would, well, first we have to figure out how big it is. So I don't know if the boxes are the right size. But like we would
How many square feet is that you have in there?
It's a beautiful blue block right now.
The next question is how much it costs.
So another option, so you can see, this is totally different. So occupy on the left side.
So this is like what if. So we haven't done any calling on your behalf. We haven't talked to utilities or anything like that. But we have had places like St. Martin and Claflin where we're working with the communities to reroute some power and some drain lines to open up possibilities. That's all really. And so it was kind of like, what if we didn't have to deal with this? What if we could reroute power and get you full access to be able to take advantage of a larger swath of site, that rather than just being limited to this bar here. And also possibly more ways to expand. As you know, you can't build that shell space, so you need to be able to expand in multiple different directions, and you don't know, it doesn't always meet just built that way. This department needs to move, that department needs to move. So, that's all this is basically showing you, could we get you some elbow room in there for that.
And thank you.
I've got a question. Have y'all ever had to work with another architect it's a weird question, but we got the RPCC coming up right next to it.
Yeah.
And so just, can you think of an example? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Can you think of an example on how y'all done that and just how would that work? I've never seen it.
With another job site?
Right. Because, we kind of want to tie it.
Yeah.
Of course, the answer is yes, but like how?
I know the superintendent who's coming over there. He's on one of my jobs right now. So my brother-in-law works in that other firm. So it'll be fine.
Okay. Planning is oftentimes we're planning for situations where we're not building the buildings and other people are coming into those buildings. So it's this would be kind of a plan it in tandem as we go. But we want to go to them and see where can we have benefits.
I'm going to ask you just a few questions. You covered most of the questions anyway, and we're running out of time. So I'm going to ask you the harder.
Keep looking at me or you?
Thank you.
What if this board tells you their needs are greater than the budget? What do you tell the board? How do you approach that? What if this board wants more than they can afford?
Well, from what I've seen, I think they do. And all those plans coming over here, I get it. But no, to be frank and honest, we need to have honest conversations about the debt you can service and what that's going to get you in construction. Nobody believes how much construction actually costs these days. So
we do everything based on
the price of this project might be $40 million more. Are you recommending CMARs?
I absolutely would, yeah, without a doubt.
Because of the time savings?
Time savings, it creates a non-adversarial relationship. When you're going to get, most importantly, you're going to get qualified healthcare contractors who know what they're doing. And who can have conversations with the ICRA nurse in here and make sure that we don't have, any infection control issues and, site circulation.
So much time I saw your address, but I couldn't really read everything. So the difference in delivery time between the two methods.
Yeah, I used that one example of Lady to See. So it was a 24-month duration and they essentially shaved like 6 months off that. Yeah.
Let's see. You're not partnering with anybody in terms of you've got all the experience. You'll have some local subs. Who will you use? Will you use local subs? Civil.
You have relationships with, mechanical firms.
Sure, we had them all actually listed, so.
Yeah, I did see some of that.
That's okay. So for civil engineering, if you have a partner in mind that you absolutely love to work with.
Yeah.
Like we always, as we start, we try to make sure if there's a relationship, we try to bring them on board. That said, if not, we usually try to recommend people that we have a proven track record with, so.
But in terms of hospital design,
Oh, yes, these are all Louisiana.
The heavy lift on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection is in Lafayette, but they've done all that work with us.
All the engineers do it for Lafayette.
Your chart, the GMP chart was excellent. You do need to submit independent estimates at 30, 60, and 90% independently. But working with the contractor full time, you should be pretty, at that 90% point, you should be pretty tight on the estimates, right? That's the idea. So typically, when does your contractor on a project like this submit the GMP? At 90%, at 5%, at 100%?
It depends on how good our drawings in early on. No, I'm serious. I mean, the reason why that contractor on the State Police Crime Lab was able to go to GMP and DD is because we hit it so hard and we had a massive amount of information and drawings and specifications figured out, it front loaded that thing, that they were so comfortable with their numbers that they were able to do that.
What's your recommendation in terms of the percent of construction costs? What do you recommend the owner has for contingency outside of the?
Oh, outside of?
Well, let's say outside.
For a job this size, I'd say probably 5%. That contingency starts huge at the beginning and then it starts whittling down.
Contract contingency is really up to the contract.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions from the board? I didn't ask everything, obviously.
We're kind of bumping into the clock here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, it did well. We interrupted you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it would be an honor to work with you guys.
Yeah, we would really, really love the opportunity. We're fun people to work with, so.
Yeah.
Should
Well, first of all, we wanted to say how grateful we are for y'all. Let us come and present how we might work with y'all to help healthcare in this community. This is what we do. This is what we love. We love rural communities all over the country. So we're grateful for the opportunity to come here and talk with you. So what we wanted to do today is go through a little bit about our firm and how we approach like the master planning, the first steps we see of the process. You know, we realize y'all in the RFP, y'all laid out the whole process, you know, but we wanted to kind of focus on those first couple of steps because we think it kind of exemplifies what we do and how we do things. So we were going to do that and then talk a little bit about our experience with the different delivery methods y'all are looking at, the different construction methods, and then of course answer your questions. That's the main reason why we wanted to.
So we'll take a minute. I want to introduce, I want the board to introduce themselves.
Certainly.
You guys know who you're hollering at.
Shelton Ann, I'm the CEO.
LaDarcy Williams, I'm the board member. Cherie Levy, board member.
And Bill Dawson.
Falcon Mir, I'm the vice chair.
Tanya Mitchell, board member.
I'm not Gaspers, he's the owner, right?
Thank you.
Oh.
And please ask your questions as we go. We've been warned you like to ask questions. That's what we really.
Y'all must have been listening.
I know what's going on. Please don't be embarrassed. Questions and dialogue, and we'll get this covered on where it is.
So a little bit about our team. This is our team from our firm. I'm our healthcare practice leader. So I do acute care healthcare all over the country and the behavioral health that we do as well. I'm a principal in the firm, been there 26 years. So all I've done is healthcare. So this is what I do and what I love. And I'd be your primary contact throughout the project.
And I'm David Johnson. I'm the old guy in the room. You always gotta have one.
Well, you don't know that for sure.
Don't get Bill excited.
Stephanie and I worked together for those 26 years. And as she said, this is what we do. I focus on vision and then making sure we stick to the vision and that implementation. Because one of the things we see happen over and over is you create a vision and then you get in the weeds and where's the electrical room go? And all of a sudden messed up the idea of, well, what happens in 10 years, 20 years, and those future kind of things. And we are a firm that the two of us will be who you deal with. We don't make a switch. We have intentionally made ourselves that way. So the last week and a half, Stephanie and I were in Bolton, Maine, doing this exact same process for a week and a half, which is how we tend to do it.
So in the way that we do that, we kind of lean and mean. So we focus on architecture, but we also focus on leading the team. So we pull in team members to do the different engineering pieces that we need. So you'll see these are the engineers that we think would be good for this project. But that way we're able to select those for the project. You don't have to use who we use, but these are all experienced in rural healthcare and they have experience in Louisiana. So again, we kind of handpick the team in order to better serve you. And we're also able to bring in other resources, like if you need medical equipment planning or different parts and pieces, we have resources there too that we can pull from just to make your project a success. That's our whole goal, is to lead you to a successful project.
And your office is in Nashville?
It's in Nashville.
Joke is it's where we change our suitcases.
Well, where in Nashville are you?
The office is a little south of Nashville. I live in Brentwood and he lives in
Bellevue, yeah. My son that lives there, that's why I know.
What part?
Lives in Belmead.
Okay.
Yeah. I had an apartment in Bellevue too.
Okay. So a little bit about our expertise. We know we
Grows up and I leave.
Yeah. You know, we sent y'all a whole lot of information in the RFP about who we are, so we just want to focus on just a few things here.
So when we started 35 years ago, actually it's April 1st, so just over 35 years, my father and Bruce Crabtree and myself had one kind of simple focus. We were in a much larger firm, and we were spending all our time running the firm and not working with our clients, and that's what we were wanting to do. And so we intentionally made a decision to start and stay that size as a studio, so we could focus on our clients and bring our knowledge. And we kind of put it into these words. Our goal is to create special places for people to work, play, and heal. And that's what we want to do. It's about transformation. and helping people move to that next step. And we focused intentionally on rural healthcare because we know it's different. I have probably been in 300 facilities like yours all across this country and a few overseas. And they are very different than regional centers and larger centers. The staffing issues, the operational issues, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about what one FTE costs and making sure the design doesn't add FTEs. How can we get more surgeries at the same time so you don't have to add staff to go a little further in the day, because that's a killer. It's hard to find the staff, much less pay for them.
These are just a few places. You say we do work all over the country. Places we have worked in Louisiana. We've got one going right now up north of Baton Rouge in Zachary. There's a project that's finishing up construction, so I want to tell you a little bit about that later on. So
This is Stephanie. I see you put Appaloosa. What project you had down there?
that was a master plan.
Oh, master plan. Okay.
Yeah, most of those were master plans that we did starting. So.
Appaloosa General.
These are some of the finished products. In the middle, you see Lane. Lane is a master plan that we did about 7 years ago now.
Started in 2018.
Okay, time flies. And I was younger then.
Yeah.
And it was very much an idea of reinventing, giving them presence, because you literally drove by this hospital and didn't know it was there. Kind of like y'all's is low and squatty. Theirs was too. You came around a curve and it was like, oh, I missed it. And so part of this vision was to create a place that you could see on the skyline, see over the trees, the live oak trees in front, hit it. The bottom left is a critical access hospital in North Carolina that's actually grown out of its critical access status because it was outside of Raleigh. They had so much population growth, they had to make a choice, which was hard, because you know what that revenue difference makes to them. But they're now going to be up around 170, 180 beds is the impact of their community growth. And so one of the things we think it shows is that ability to plan where it can grow. Not to say you will, but I can promise you, I can give you a long list of facilities that have said, we built this and thought if we could just get this, that's all we ever need.
We don't need more than 2 ORs. We'll
And
never
all of a sudden, doctors come because it's new. Patients come back who may have been leaving the community. And all of a sudden it's like, well, where do I add this? How do I do that? And so it's been a huge success because of that. The bottom right is a very lean and mean critical access hospital in West Virginia. We worked with them for 12 years to get the financing and work with them operationally, because that's part of the journey. You know, you have to do both. It's not just a building. It is kind of a living thing.
Can I interrupt? You said financing. Can you I don't know if you got that on your slides, but I want to hear about it and what y'all do with it.
We actually have a partner that we've worked with for probably 25 years, Innovative Capital.
Okay.
It's a group out of Philadelphia, and they do primarily rural hospitals. We work with other groups, Raymond James did Lane. But what we found with Innovative Capital, because they focus on rural hospitals, they understand cost reports and the impact that has and how you calculate. And so we have kind of a way with them, if you would like, of doing a quick assessment up front to say, based on your finances with no growth, just if we kept performing the way we're performing today, here's what we could afford to do and what that impact would be on the cost of the bottom line. So what's y'all's reimbursement, Medicare?
I'm gonna defer to Mr. Anthony on that one.
Percentages? So Medicare, Medicaid, they're in the 75% range, something like that.
That is huge.
That is huge. Yeah.
Because what we see in that scenario
77.
is that when they're 50% to 55%, the first 10 to 15 years of what you spend is fully reimbursed by additional reimbursement, interest and depreciation. And so that's one of the calculations that they're able to do, is show you, here's our cash flow, here's the impact. Yes, you have a lot of debt at that point, but you get that additional cash for the depreciation, which is not an expense. It's a non-cash thing. And so your cash goes up. Balance sheet looks awful, but your cash balances are increasing. So we do a fair amount for this type of facility in USDA, which is what Lane did. We've done probably a dozen, probably half a dozen.
Yeah.
Right underway or in for application. And it's a process, you'll hear a lot of very negative things about it. You know, it's government, it's bureaucracy. Yeah. Yes, it is. But it is incredibly inexpensive money. 3.5, 35-year loans. Mostly they're direct loans with the federal government. You don't have to have a bank involved for the permanent. You have to get a construction loan of some kind. And because you have the USDA commitment, that's easier to do. Because then the bank's looking for money to fund this for 2 years while you build it. And then I'm going to get
then Uncle Sam got us. Yeah.
Right. And so you are a direct lender to the federal government.
So what about bonds?
This group bonds, they do kind of it all. They can do it all, so they can tell you the difference.
Do y'all know about the new rural health care big pot of money that I hear about all the time?
That it's not going to do much is the short answer. I mean, people in Georgia, we have several going in Georgia, and they're all in panic mode. They just got home from one of their conferences, and the officials of the state of Georgia said, yes, it's a lot of money, but they put so many restrictions on it. And then, like, using it for capital.
Is that the state of Georgia making that decision?
Every state does it.
Every state does.
Okay, because I've heard they trying to, all right.
Yeah, Louisiana, I haven't heard negative stuff yet, but still, it's.
All right, I just want to now understand how that works as each state.
Every state decides.
They kind of say, what we've heard pretty much predominantly is there's a push not to use it for capital. Use it for IT.
Yeah.
North Dakota is going to use it for childcare. So we've been helping them come up with a childcare module for rural hospitals so they can get the staff.
Yeah.
It's those kind of things that
makes sense.
Talking about.
Thank you. But each state is going to be different.
Yeah.
Yes. And it will probably change over time because they're done in one area.
You talked about you got loans, but what about just grants? Are there any grants out there?
Not very many.
No.
Not sizable.
Because, I mean, we can almost sell a bond for 3.5%.
Okay.
I don't know, how much a bond?
5%.
30
30-year bonds.
Yeah.
And they sometimes have a fair amount of expenses. They want more, like USDA only has asked for a 1.5 debt coverage ratio. They don't have minimum days cash on hand. They don't have any of those other caveats that come with bonds. It's part of that early assessment is which is better.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that's nice about USDA, if you borrow money and get started, and then in 5 or 10 years you're ready to the next piece, you can borrow again. And you don't have to take out the original loan.
Right.
So if you had a 3% interest rate then, which some of ours do, and 10 years later you want to borrow again, you don't have to give up the 3% and go to a 7%.
Right.
Whereas with HUD and the bonds, they want to be first in line, and they want you to refinance everything, so you pay these fees. We have one in Washington State, they're going to refinance $40 million to be able to do another 60. They're paying the fees on $100 million to get the 60 because they did it with county loans.
Yeah.
And the other thing is USDA will not, they're not putting any liens on the county or the taxpayers. It's all your responsibility. So they really vet it out to make sure, yes, you can pay it back. But it's nice that it doesn't get in the way of schools and all the other things.
As an incumbent.
What are they, 30 year?
30, 39.
Yeah.
All right. And you can prepay them, you can early pay them without penalty, those kind of things.
So we love, of course, we sleuth your website, and these are exactly our values too. It's very in line with what we do and why we want to work in rural communities, because we care about the community and we want to make a better place for healthcare. It's not just, we're not in this just to be architects and have projects. We want to form relationships, build the communities, and make better places.
One of the things we're proud of is that most of our relationships go back 25 years, 20 to 25 years.
So we've done master plans like Cody, Wyoming, we did it in the early 70s. I mean, early 2000s, not early 70s. Early 2000s, and we've been implementing since. And the world has changed. But the master plan gave them a framework to continue. So last week we had a conversation about they've got an orthopedic group who wants to come to Cody, Wyoming so they can hunt and fish. The CEO needs space. We had put basement space in because they have to dig deep foundations because of the cold. And it was like, well, we paid for the basement, we might as well capture it. But from a cost report standpoint, you don't want shell space. So we left it gravel, so it didn't count. Now we have this about 8,000 square foot chunk of space that's been sitting there that we can quickly build out versus you do a building, it's a year and a half, 2 years just for process. This, they'll be able to move in about 8 months, which is about when the doctors are planning to be here. And so it's that kind of thinking and planning.
So we also, I mean, obviously we care deeply about our teams and people that we work with, but we think we're partners to lead through the process. You know, we want to listen to you all because it's your building. Like, we're just here to help. You know, like, we're not, it's not something for us to put on a magazine. We'd love that happens, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to make a building a tool for you all to deliver better healthcare in. So we want to listen to you all first and then lead the team to make it happen. Realize somebody has to be real. You all have day jobs. You know, you're not leading this process. So we want to lead that whole, lead the group of people through it, and then develop something that's great.
Are you going to have any local engineering firms or any local?
I mean, we're open to other, I mean, we've picked a group, you know, that we have, but we're open to suggestions of who it is. I mean, I know we will have a local landscape because you have to, you know, but if there's other people that you're like, they've done really good work for us, we're happy to entertain using those folks as well. We just want to make sure they have enough experience and do, you know, like, we've got people that know we can count on. So but we're open to other. That's one reason why we focus on being just a small architectural, so that we can bring in people that need to.
So if we have a problem, we need to meet or something, or you guys wouldn't mind getting on a plane and coming down.
That's what we do.
Right. That's what you do.
They have changed suitcases in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the typical part of what we do. And one of the great things about Zoom, the contractors now FaceTime and walk around job sites. And when I started doing this, we didn't have all those tools. We barely had fax machines.
Yeah.
And so you had to go. Now we can get quick responses, which is one of the things we focus on because when they're in construction, a day counts. And so we try to avoid that.
Yeah. So we've done it, like I say, COVID made us better at it, I think. But we still, like, we can do, I've done punch lists over Zoom. Like, I mean, I've done, you know, contractor's got a problem. He just FaceTimes me and say, here's what I'm looking at. What is that? You know, and so we just plan to work it out. You know, I mean, it's about the commitment and the caring to get the job done right. So.
The way we put our teams together in our office, we'll have 2 or 3 other people that are committed from beginning to end. So one of the things we found in the beginning, by having those same 3 to 4 people, they hear that early conversation where you say, you know, as a nursing staff, I need this sink this big. And then as we go through the project, somebody without ill intention says, oh, I can get this one cheaper. Okay, but it doesn't functionally do what needs to be done. We don't lose that knowledge in the handoffs by doing it that way. And they're part of construction. So they're there to respond quickly. One of our priorities has always been get the responses to contractors within a day or 2. Now, sometimes it takes longer because you got to do more, but sometimes there's simple things, as Stephanie said, and it's like, how can we do that so they keep going? Part of what you'll see here, I think, is a lot of difference in what the images are. One of the things we believe with rural hospitals is that this represents your community, and your community is different than another. Part of what we have to do is learn kind of who you are at your soul and make sure it reflects it. You know, are you trying to be forward-thinking? Is tradition and history important? Do we need to? We did one in Iowa where we tore down the oldest hospital west of the Mississippi River. It was not very popular with the Historical Society. But the way the site was, it was our only choice. But it had these beautiful stone columns and terracotta details around the top. We put those inside the building. And so we were able, when we got done, the community was like, oh, we have all the amenities of nice and new, but we still respected who we were. And so that's an important part of what we try to do as we work through these.
I know one of the things that you wanted us to respond to was workload. And I would say that we're 22 people, so we only respond to what we think we can handle. You know, like we plan it out, and we don't go after every RFQ that's out there. Obviously, we're in the neighborhood here, so it was a really good fit. I was like, I know Louisiana, we've done this, we were around here, so that was why we went after this one. You know, so I would say we don't go after projects that we can't deliver the high level of client care that we want to deliver.
We've kind of intentionally said we don't want to be huge because I was there and did that. It just wasn't, what I wanted to be. Could we partner with people and do bigger things? Sure. We've done $100 and $150 million projects with success around the country. And part of why we were asked to go overseas with a group was because we could do those kind of things and take Western healthcare in the ideas.
So she said you had 22 employees. How many architects do you have?
Licensed, I think 12 or so.
All of our staff are technical staff except for 2 people.
Yeah. Yeah. Either architects are on their way to be architects, they're graduated school.
One of our strategies has been we hire them when they graduate and teach them our way. And so we have this, Stephanie said she's been 26 years. We have that incredible record of doing that and teaching how to listen and lead. One of the things we do that I think helps you, not that I want your role, but we do some of that for clients that don't have anybody in them. Because we find very much that if somebody doesn't lead the orchestra, we're architects and we're going to do the building, but there's medical equipment, there's technology, there's security, there's funding. We do enough of that we started having to do it as an owner's rep for owners where they didn't have anybody. And so we have some where we serve both roles. Well, what I think is really nice about that, we understand those issues. Budget is front and foremost, and maybe we can spend a little more on the building, and as a result, spend less over here. What matters is that total number. I've seen people try to save money out of a building just because that was the building number, but the overall project number didn't change. One of the things we're doing more and more around the idea of flexibility is we're making labs and pharmacies movable items. The furniture in there, instead of building in cabinets, which is what you see in most labs and pharmacies, a lot of built-in casework and storage. The lab equipment changes faster than you can draw it. And when it has to be replaced, it's 2 inches bigger and 3 inches shorter, and then the cabinets don't fit, and you're spending money to rip cabinets out, which means you have to redo the floor, the ceiling. The system's kind of good. Let's exactly be what you want. And then if this analyzer comes in and you need to lower that counter, it's not a mess. It's not dust and drywall. It's either modify, the height, or order a different piece of furniture and swap it in. Well, that moves money out of construction into medical equipment. And some people would look at that and say, oh, you're messing up the medical equipment budget. No, we're trying to be good stewards of that entire equipment.
So a little bit about the process.
And so from having worked at master plan level for 35 years, this is kind of some of the goals, what we try to accomplish. It really is about helping you as a board make the high-level decisions and having the flexibility to adapt in the future. So just like the big, beautiful bill. 5 years ago, nobody had any idea it was coming. You've got to be able to respond to it. That's just happened. I've seen that happen over and over throughout my career. And we say, if you squint at the master plan and look at what you do, they'll be very similar, but they will not be exact. This is not a rigid thing. This is a tool to make good decisions. So in Maine, we're looking at both a replacement and what we call a modernization, where we can use the old building for support things. Offices and lab can go in a building like that and get the clinical and new. But then at some point, the old building will truly be unusable. Where would you replace those things around the new? And so it's the idea of having a roadmap so you don't have a problem later of, oops, I didn't leave enough room to add more beds or more rollovers.
So this is again that first step that we would see going through, start the programming kind of piece, starting with that. So the way that we would do it is developing what we call a space allocation program, which is the program that's a list of spaces that you need no matter where the project is. But we're architects, so we love to start drawing, but we figure out if you don't have the problem, which is the space program, that's the problem we're trying to solve. This is the spaces that we need to function well. This is what we need to do. So we identify that problem statement first, which is the program. And then we go into the architectural solutions that will have some budget impact, like we evaluate, because it's a different solution if you have a $5 million budget versus a $20 million budget. So it's getting a solution that's tailored not only to what the spaces need, but also what the budget needs and how you get there.
There's kind of a discipline in this for us that we find important. Having been a part of projects years ago where they just jumped into drawing because everybody wanted to say, well, where's the lab going to go? And then you spent forever changing drawings because you hadn't thought of it holistically. The discipline of defining the problem. We need a lab this big. We need this many ORs supported by data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody agrees on that. Has nothing to do with the design. It's just, we need 120,000 square feet to deliver the healthcare we want to deliver. Then you do solutions. And that's a very important, I think, distinction. As Stephanie said, we all go to school and want to draw. And so everybody wants to jump to that. But we are really intentional in part of how we do that. Stephanie focuses on programming. I focus on solutions. And we do that together so we don't lose sight of either one.
So, and then we'll start getting into the budgeting piece. The first place is medical equipment is a huge cost, obviously, in a new build or anything like that. So we really would dive into what that is, and we'll explain that a little bit more later.
I mean, that medical equipment can be a $15 or $20 million number, and it's one that people often forget. So we'll go through our process in a minute, but it's about helping you get that defined so that we can then assemble these project budgets, and those budgets are comprehensive. They're not just construction. They're what you as a commission have to find the money for. It's everything.
And then, of course, we present those to executive team and board to figure out exactly, because sometimes that gets tweaked at that point too. Like, I mean, we may come up with this is what we think you ought to do, but once we talk to you all, it may be a little tweaking on that to get what you actually want to go forward with. And then just, again, getting actionable steps. I mean, that's what it's, we want to give you the information to be able to move forward. So starting with the space allocation program, obviously we're challenging a little bit to improve operations, getting down those FTEs. How could you be more efficient? What is in your space that is not working efficiently? So we're looking at all that. It's the current Louisiana regulations will be built into the program. So we'll make sure we have all the required spaces, all those types of things will be built in. It's a universal space program. So as Dave was talking about modernization versus replacement, like it's the space you need to deliver good care no matter where it is. Like whether it's in a renovated space, if it's in a new space, it is what the space that you need. So it's a defendable piece. And part of that being defendable is the right amount of detail. Obviously, I mean, somebody could say, well, a lab needs to be 2,000 square feet. Well, does it? Does it not? So it's breaking down the spaces, and you'll see a little bit how that is done so that it actually adds all up together. And we look at needs and not wants. So this is kind of a little example of a snippet of what we do in the space program. So this is taking lab. So we look at the counter space that the equipment needs and the floor space that the equipment needs. And that would roll up into what this blood bank area needs. So that's how much this space needs. And then that would roll into all the spaces would add up. Like you see, we have offices, all those parts and pieces that we need in the lab would add up to a subtotal, and we do some circulation and structural factors, and that's what the department needs. So it's not that we need a 2,000 square foot lab. We're down to like the foot of the lab that is ideal.
We also think this is very helpful because there can be a gap between doing this work and actually getting going. And you pick the project back up after a year or two. Everybody's slept a few times and dealt with a few other crises in the hospital. And it's like, why did we do that? Well, we had 4 workstations in the office, which said we had 4 lab techs when we did this.
Yeah.
You may have hired 2 more in the interim. Great. We just need to address it.
So all those departments add up to the total square footage. So this as a board gives you something, somebody says, well, that house doesn't need to be that many square feet. We can build it for much less. This gives you a defendable, thick document that says, no, we didn't just think about it. We didn't just pull it out of the air. We looked at every space and what we need and how we need to deliver care, what the requirements we need to have. So it really is a defendable piece about what needs to be built.
It's based on your community assessment, it's based on your data, your market, and things around you. What are your competitors doing? What can you get doctors for? What do they need?
What are your goals?
Every hospital's the same.
Yeah.
Part I think what fascinates me about rural hospitals is every one of them is different. They have many of the same components, but which doctors can you get on which days? What does your community need and how much? And that leads us to solutions. We do both of these steps on site. So whether it's this room or another room, and we do that where we interview every department, do the program, talk to them, here's what goes in, here's why, we challenge them. Rick we were with last week was like, I've worked here 30 years, I've never been in another hospital. So they don't know, so we get like surgery departments who get stuck. This is the only way they know to do it. So we'll share other ways, what their peers are doing, and then let that be part of the driver. And after we do that kind of in the first week, then I take that and create possible solutions. They're hand-drawn, they're quick, but they're based on that program so that you and staff can come in and go, oh, we forgot to tell you this, or
Not Sally.
I really want this to be next to this because we have this. Great, we do it quickly. So in a couple of weeks, we've got the problem and a possible solution. You can say, yeah, that's on track. Then we go budget. But it lets us get there quickly. I work with other teams that take 4 and 5 months to do this because it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we just find people forget. That they lose focus and then their brain's not engaged. This engages me. It leads then to the diagrams that become the master plan by department. We're communicating things with this, for example, in this one. Yellow is public circulation. Security is a huge issue in what we're doing today. And we kind of have a philosophy that we don't want the public to go beyond one waiting room. That's going to be more than one. But the idea is they come in, they can get to the things they need to get to, but they cannot walk through any departments unless a staff member opens a door and asks them to come out. And it's laid out in a way when I leave the lobby area, they can point me right back to where I came in. But it's a wayfinding, security, and the growth. You'll notice all the corridors. None of them are dead-ended. So when I need to add one OR, that one I showed you in North Carolina, we went from 2 ORs, we're now at 5. And we add them one at a time because they're CON state and you get them approved one for this reason.
Hey, Jasper, we're kind of running into time to the end of the schedule. So,
But the next piece is our look to the budget. Again, we kind of dive into the same amount of detail for the equipment because it's a big part of the budget. So we have a partner that helps work through those.
And then I'm going to put budgets together that are very detailed. They look at all of these issues. And again, my goal is to break it down in parts and pieces. So if you want to know, what if I just did this or what if I just did that? Part of that planning up front is what do you want to possibly do? And then that gets you to a total. And it's, as I said earlier, construction, project costs, and then transaction costs. USDA, one of the downsides is you could have $7 or $8 million of capitalized interest for that 2-year period. You can borrow that money, but you got to calculate that because that's part of what you've got to approve as a board. And the one I always caution, particularly CEOs and CFOs, is that transaction cost. You're going to add a new program, there's probably a year of startup cost. Hiring staff, hiring positions that go in your operations budget, not in our project budget, but they've got to be dealt with.
Then, like I mentioned briefly, I mean, we've done both design, bid, build, and construction manager in Louisiana within the last year. So we've been through both of those processes and we know how they work. We can help you weigh pros and cons based on your regulatory needs for the district and what you are restricted to do, your risk tolerance. the schedule you want to maintain. So there's lots of pros and cons. Either way is okay. It's just a matter of dealing with it, you know, through what's good for you. So we've got experience and we can lead you through that.
Put the committee together, are the rules.
Yeah.
You know, with this member, this member, this member.
Yep.
In order to pick the CM. So we've done that very detailed, honestly. And then we are done.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you just a few questions. The board may have some follow-up questions. Thinking about one of your facilities, how do you make sure your design help operate both operational efficiency and on sustainability? You sort of touched on that in the last added ERs. How do you look at
It's that problem statement lets us know where to start, and then because we've done so many, it's like, here's where we've seen problems in other hospitals. And so, we've explored the idea, if the volume's justified, let's explore combining the ER nurse station with med surg. Why do we have to? It's exploring those kind of things early on.
And keeping an eye on flexibility. How do you keep it in the future? Is just making sure everything is flexible to be able to expand or change for what it needs to be.
Have you taken a look at the site here that they've got to deal with?
A little bit.
Yeah, because they're kind of constrained.
Yeah.
Long, now
long site, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, don't
No hills. No hill, levy, but not here. So stakeholders have certain expectations. So how do you balance stakeholder expectations with the needs, you know, staff knows what wants to be clinically, but there are financial realities. So how do you balance them? We can all come together. And, you know, related to that question, suppose this board tells you they want something.
Ready to make
What do you say?
We're going to be honest. Yeah.
We believe the process here gets to what you need and what it will cost, but we're always looking for how do we scale it. As our finance guy says, we want the most building for the least amount of money. And so one of the reasons we do modernization a lot is we can reuse the old building. It doesn't preclude getting a new kitchen. You don't have to do it on day one.
So you mentioned design bid build and see why you have experience with both. This is going to be, say we're talking about a $40 or $50 million project here. What's been your experience? What's the best method to go?
I'd say
let's say if time was a factor.
Time was a factor, I would say it's the CM process. That's going to get you through it a bit faster because we can get the committee put together. There's a little time with that, but we can be designing alongside that. So it's just a matter of scheduling that in early enough to where you're going. You know,
You're familiar with Louisiana revised statutes covering construction management risk, so you know what lines are. They're probably different in every state.
Yeah, but it's more rigorous in Louisiana. But yeah, getting that committee together, get it approved, not doing design up to a certain point. Yes, we've done all that.
I think one of the big difference, Louisiana in a hard bid situation will not let you do allowances.
Alternates.
Whereas with the CM process, you can.
Yeah.
And that's huge when you're trying to get most value for the dollar.
And we're just trying to protect the owner. And from an owner standpoint, it's a more owner-friendly method, let's say.
If you were to be selected, like next meeting, they make a selection, what do you see the timeline being from beginning design, and if you go CBAR, for instance, you're going to have 30%, we're going to be going through the process of selecting a contractor and getting them on board with the contract, and you're working with them. What's that whole process? Whole length of that process?
Being ready to.
Well, it's tough to answer that because you don't know what this.
The financing will play a big part of it. You get USDA, it's about 2 years from the day you hire to the day you break ground.
That's what we're gonna have to, we got a constraint here on.
That's pretty much the most important thing I have. So appreciate you being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all, seriously.
Okay.